Chapter 354 On the Brink. Chapter 354 On the Brink. Tap tilde. With a steady gait, the Luo clan walked forward. The first were Luo Yunchang and Luo Yunhai, the leaders of the Luo clan. Right behind them were Captain Pang, Lei Yuting, and other important people. And finally Li Jingtian and Lei Yuntian, the elders. It was clear as day that the Luo clan hardly had any elders, merely two, and their strength was far weaker. Only Li Jingtian's power stirred the hearts of men, yet the way Lei Yuntian, a profound heaven expert in the fifth layer, stood next to Li Jingtian, it was like an ant marching side by side with an elephant. Yuan Yong only had disdain for them. Humph, weak. Does that look like an eighth house to you? Don't they barely qualify with just one peak radiant stage expert? Second brother, don't say that. The Luo clan had been a third-rate clan recently. But in the last 10 years they have grown so much to reach here. What do you say to that? Yuan Tsong returned to his brothers, and although downcast, he admired the Luo clan. Crown Prince frowned a bit. Third brother, I must say, this is some very rare and hard oddity to come by. But the way they've developed seems skewed. Do you guys think the Luo clan only has one radiant stage expert? When the day comes that they have to fight other houses and their only defense would go into battle, wouldn't they be left wide open for attack? Compared to other houses, the Luo clan will be the quickest to fall. This clan truly is a marvel, but far too soon to be called a house. Yuan Yong watched the approaching group and sighed. This is not our concern, but for that kid Zhuofan to think about. Zhuofan? The crown prince and the second prince raised an eyebrow. The former was quite excited. I've heard about him. Luo clan has managed to see today all because of him. He is a genius, not unlike Zhuge Changfeng and Leng Wuchang. Staring at the Luo clan, Yuan Yong spat. I've heard of him too. Ever since he showed up, he has turned Tianyu upside down and even fought against the seven houses. In the esoteric debate, he alone fought against Huangpu Qingtian's team of 4, making a name for himself. The Luo clan can now stand abreast the seven houses, all because of its two pillars. The sharp steward Zhuo and the mighty Li Jingtian. Who is Zhuofan anyway? Yuan Yong scrutinized the Luo clan in search of his query. The crown prince was also on the lookout. Only Yuan Tsong, who had become a sworn brother with the man, said after a glance, "He's not here." What, on the eve of their award ceremony, their steward still won't show? The two cried, shrugging. Yuan Tsong said, "That's just how he is." With that last word, he went to Luo Yunchang and cupped his hands. The two were puzzled and even more curious about Zhuofan. But the crown prince still went to greet the Luo clan. Only Yuan Yong disdained them from afar. He did not care one bit if the Luo clan was becoming the eighth house. He just knew one fact. Their odd discrepancy in ranks assured that it was only a matter of time before they crumbled, and he had no intention of making nice with a soon-to-be dead clan. The young master in the crowd stuck his head out and scanned the Luo clan's detail. Who's Zhuofan? Why does none of them look anything like the rumor? Is he perhaps that guy? The youth pointed at Yang Fu. The child next to him looked in disdain. Young master, that guy sure looks fair but nothing alike. How come? I overheard my clansmen say that Luo clan's steward is vicious and fiendish, not like that pretty boy. Not to mention that he is the highest person in the Luo clan that even that radiant stage expert listens to. While that kid only knows how to bob his head, not speaking a word to the two elders. How is that fiendish? If he were indeed the rumored monster, the crown prince wouldn't dare neglect him. The young master was stunned, then nodded. Why, you're quite good at deductions. Who knew you had a good head on your shoulders? He, young master exaggerates. The child giggled, her cheeks rosy. But if he isn't Zhuofan, then who is it? The others don't look the part either. Seeing her young master so focused, the child shrugged, unsure as well. Look, Regent Estate is here. A shout caught everyone's attention. Even Crown Prince's attention, who was chatting with the Luo clan. That one look left everyone gasping and drove fear into their feeble legs. A group in golden garb strutted with Huangpu Tianyuan in the lead. Next to him was their steward, Tianyu's second greatest mind, unwonted contriver Leng Wuchang. Following were the profound heaven elders, 50 in number, releasing their mighty auras. Yet that was hardly impressive. What got everyone so shocked was the venerable contingency. A total of 30 people radiating incredible power. Any one of their gazes was enough to raise everything to the ground. Crown Prince gulped at the ostentatious display. He never imagined the regent estate's power would reach such a height. Almost catching up to the imperial family, second prince was dumbstruck. His jaw hanging, eyes popping, forgetting himself as he spoke. Dang, now that's what you call a 1,000-year-old legacy. How can that upstart Luo clan compare? Li Jingtian watched them with a cold gaze. He was very clear on the regent estate's power. 15 of the venerables were below the third layer of radiant stage, 10 of them between third and sixth, and 5 above. In this aspect the Luo clan wasn't falling short. The Luo siblings glanced over and nodded. It all came down to Steward Shuo and the rest if they reached in time. The crown prince excused himself from the Luo clan and greeted the regent estate. Estate Lord Huangpu, I trust you have been well. It's only thanks to your blessing, crown prince, that I am well. Huangpu Tianyuan smiled just then. The second prince skipped the Luo clan and rushed over to regent estate with a smile. Royal uncle, it's been a while. Hiding the disdain, Huangpu Tianyuan put on a smile. Thank you, second prince, for your concern. The regent estate and the imperial family were distant relatives at first, but the imperial family had its dignity. That wouldn't change even among relatives. If anybody wished to get close and use such a way of addressing, it had to be peers, just like how the emperor called him cousin while never lowering himself. Yet this second prince had walked up and called him royal uncle, his tone thick with flattery. Anyone with an ear could tell he wanted regent estate on his side, not to mention the guy had made a beeline for the regent estate, slighting the Luo clan and earning their malcontent. The prime example of the worst ruler. The crown prince glared at his brother, then sighed. Huangpu Tianyuan's group only had contempt for the second prince. Narrow-minded, brash, blind ambition, all talk, and unable to accomplish a single thing in his life. Glancing at Leng Wuchang, the two's minds connected and they smiled. Hi venerable, your old friend is here. Why don't you go greet him? Leng Wuchang pointed at the Luo clan with a smile. Huangpu Fenglei nodded and grinned, making his way to the Luo clan. The regent estate's top expert drew gazes as he walked. Li Jingtian knew his purpose and stepped out as well. Everyone knew the strongest of two clans were now facing off. With Li Jingtian turning his back on the regent estate, the latter had to settle this disgrace or it would become a stain on their name. People watched with rapt attention as the two got closer. How were they going to settle this? Even the other houses watched. It seemed like a problem between two men who represented a conflict between two clans. Any side's loss meant shame for their clan. Regent estate couldn't afford to lose. Regent estate had lost the esoteric debate, but that was pertaining to the younger generation. While losing here meant their 1,000-year-long legacy would crumble, as would they. Yet the regent estate was still willing to do this confrontation, confident of their success. Eyeing Li Jingtian, Huangpu Fenglei snickered. Mad Dipper Li Jingtian, you had lost to me once. How about showing me your progress from these past years? Ha ha ha. Chapter 355, Princess Yongning. Chapter 355, Princess Yongning. Elite Coda. The two stopped 20 meters from each other. Huangpu Fenglei started off with mockery. Ha ha ha, Li Jingtian, when you first came to Regent Estate, it was for the Imperial Tyrant body art. For you to betray us in favor of the Luo clan, it must have been over something similar, right? Quite. Li Jingtian was blunt. My entire life, I've always been obsessed with martial arts, all in pursuit of power. But you guys are too selfish, not willing to impart me the complete Imperial Tyrant body art. So why would I ever give my all to you? Humph, our Imperial Tyrant body art is a second-to-none profound ranked cultivation method in Tianyu. Training even a fraction of it would have benefited you for life. But, fortunately, I was right to judge you untrustworthy and refuse to give it to you. Or today would have been another story entirely. Huangpu Fenglei snickered, not to mention that I heard you joined the Luo clan for the same thing we didn't give you, a cultivation method, right? Li Jingtian admitted, among other things. Humph, absurd. In the whole of Tianyu, the quality of our cultivation method is second only to imperial families. Can a third-rate clan give you something like that? Ha ha ha, only a fool would believe that. Haven't you heard? Luo clan has a miraculous steward. He gave me something you can't even dream of. Li Jingtian talked back. Huangpu Fenglei's voice dropped. Shuofan? Humph, what can a glib punk ever achieve? He is only a king among scamps. And since you hold him in such high regard, you've made me curious to watch him myself. But first, let's see what you've received from the Luo clan. Huangpu Fenglei's power surged and 9 golden dragons roared as they twisted around him. He was glowing with might and devastating power. The imperial tyrant body art of the regent estate was revealed in all its glory and trained to the max. Ha ha ha, perfect timing. It's time I pay back for the resentment from all those years. Laughing, Li Jingtian became enveloped in dark energy, swallowed in the belly of a huge dragon with red eyes thirsting for battle. The two were moments away from a death match. The crown prince was shocked and rushed forward to stop it. But a man in golden robes stopped him before he got the chance. Huangpu Qianyuan smiled. Crown Prince, they are peak radiant stage experts. For your safety, please stay away from our venerable. Crown Prince shuddered and noticed his brothers were also behind some venerable from the regent estate. All he could do was sigh. It was obvious that the regent estate wanted no interference. Before the award ceremony even began, he wanted to show the Luo clan the might of the head of the houses. But with a full-blown battle raging over here, what about the imperial family's reputation? At this critical and dire moment, a divine dragon would usually interfere, no? The crown prince shuddered all of a sudden. How come there were no divine dragons around? It goes on to show that they've planned for this all along. Is the imperial father behind this? Crown Prince's worry eased as he looked at the two fighters. Puzzled, the emperor was clearly intent on praising the Luo clan for their exemplary conduct. But letting Luo clan and regent estate fight at the gates, he was unclear if it was directed at humiliating the new house or stomping regent estate's cocky attitude. Even so, attacking the regent estate was impossible at this point. Which meant the crown prince was even more puzzled. Just what are you up to, imperial father? Only Lung Wuchang was calmly tending to his beard. He had easily surmised that the emperor's stance with the Luo clan changed from the moment Shuo Fan got the dragon vein soul. Hence this award ceremony was the perfect time to test the Luo clan's waters. With how Shuo Fan's actions in the past years were shrouded in mystery so that not even the emperor knew, he was feeling a little more than mere unease. Case in point, only God knew when Li Jingtian had switched sides, yet only now did he show his face, and the emperor wasn't about to let a viable threat fester. Thus today's show was all set up courtesy of His Majesty, with regent estate as the main actor. Since the two's interests aligned, to fish out the Luo clan's dirty little secrets. In the heart of the imperial capital, on the top story of the tallest restaurant, Fang Qiubai and Sima Hui sat. Their eyes never left the 9 gates and the waves of power coming from their old Fang. The two are as strong as us. Leaving them to fight will spin this out of control. Sima Hui frowned, fiddling with a chess piece. Fang Qiubai held a brand new flute as he shook his head, smiling. It's His Majesty's order. Let them fight. And even if it blows things out of proportion, we have young Sanzi to deal with them. Ha ha ha. True, in the end it all depends on the little monster. Shaking his head, Sima Hui sighed. But won't that make us utterly useless? Look at us. The invincible divine dragons, jade flute divine sword and monochrome chess sage, now reduced to mere relics of the past, obsolete. Huangpu Fenglei aside, for even a third-rate clan's venerable to outclass us, we won't be having such an easy time going wherever we want in Tianyu now. Sima Hui's mood sank and Fang Qiubai shook his head. You're right, but even so, be it Huangpu Fenglei or Li Jingtian, they were both powerful men of ambition back in the day. Getting caught up is normal. But if a new and upcoming expert suddenly reached our level, I'd smash my head and die. Sima Hui found wisdom in his words. They no longer chose to dwell on it and resumed to watch the act unfold. The clans in the audience were thrilled at the prospect of a good show, but now they were downright terrified. Scurrying to and fro for cover of note were those particular clans present at the esoteric debate, who were positively dreading the aftermath. They knew better than ever what a clash between colossi entailed. Getting near was suicidal, and getting a stray hit would bury you. If they didn't flee now, they would never get the chance. That said, while the two were measuring their auras and powering up, the crowd went wild in hightailing it out of there. The young master in the crowd stumbled in the confusion but stayed put. The ignorance in him had no clue what was coming. Then his robe was yanked by the rushing crowd, revealing a fair hand and a dazzling jade bracelet. The young master cried, trying to cover it, but it was perhaps a bit hard with the frantic mob running around par. The bracelet fell and started rolling on the ground. The young master panicked and chased after it. Imperial Mother's bracelet. Young master, don't, it's too dangerous. The child saw him rush after the rolling bracelet, towards the two experts' battle. It was impossible to reach him in time as the mob dragged him further away. Finally, the young master squeezed out between the last people and finally picked up some speed, catching the bracelet with a smile. But just then, the two experts moved. With a boom, they charged at one another. While the youth stood there frozen, in the middle, imperial tyrant body art, soaring demonic dragon. As they roared, their power reached the masses before they even clashed. The youth had no time to dodge, feeling the godly pressure bearing down on him, and coughed blood. Sharp winds slashed at him, ripping his robe and revealing a lavish garment. The scholar hat fell, draping long flowing black hair. He was a she. Yongning. The three princes cried, "Stop." Not that it did much good. The two only heard their own roars. When an expert attacked, he had no reason to stop. Fang Qiubai and Sima Hui jumped to their feet. "Princess." They rushed to the rescue even though they knew the futility of it. Not even them could save her, trapped in the maelstrom of power born of two clashing peak radiant stage experts. Li Jingtian and Huangpu Fenglei never even registered the girl there. To them, she was as important as an ant. All they saw was their enemy. Roar. Roar. With two dragon roars, the two sped up. The princes and the two divine dragons watched on with bloodshot eyes. They couldn't understand how His Majesty's beloved daughter had ended up here. The danger of the situation finally dawned on Yongning as blood trickled from her mouth. She was akin to a dinghy in the middle of a storm, with the two waves coming down on her any minute to render her void. Fear gripped her heart as she shook like a leaf. "Mother." Hugging the bracelet, Yongning cried and cried, her lips trembling as she pleaded, "Someone save me." But who could save her from the jaws of death brought on by the might of two clashing peak radiant stage experts? The princes were beside themselves in fear. The two divine dragons knew it was hopeless but still tried to reach her, and the child in the crowd was wailing, "Princess." Yet none of those acts was of any help. The two experts finally reached her with bloodthirsty eyes. Their gaze pierced her heart as their punches drew closer. A fierce wind snapped at her face. She knew her end was nigh, at their hands. Her heart was in deep regret for slipping out of the imperial palace and ending up here. But in her final moment, all she could think of was her mother watching her from above as she raised the bracelet and prayed, "Mother, you said there's someone who will protect me. Please, come save me." Whoosh. Then the gale and pressure vanished, to make way for the cold voice drifting in her ears, "Lass, a rabbit has no place wandering where savage beasts are on the prowl." Chapter 356, The Might of Luo Clan. Chapter 356, The Might of Luo Clan. Elite Coda. Shivering, Yongning realized that she wasn't torn apart by the two mighty powers and was in fact caressed by a breeze. She cracked her eyes open just a hint, but what she saw made her cry out and fall down in fright. Before her was a man in every sense of the word. With broad shoulders, white hair floating in the wind and a deep gaze looking down on all creation. But the greatest shock was how this man actually put a stop to the raging tempest. The two peak radiant stage experts unleashed. His left hand was twisted into a savage dragon claw, holding Li Jingtian's wrist unscathed by Li Jingtian's black energy trying to eat it, while his right arm made a simple block with his palm. Yet this plain act seemed to contain endless power as Huangpu Fenglei's 9 golden dragons couldn't budge an inch. The people cried out in shock, seeing the situation take an impossible turn. Two peak radiant experts were handled like a bunch of chickens. Huangpu Fenglei and Li Jingtian were overwhelmed watching the man. Then the once lost feeling of fear slowly crept into their soul. They were peak radiant stage experts, fearless against any adversary in Tianyu. But now they were reacquainted with this feeling of dread a century later by this man in front of them. The fact that these two peak experts couldn't match their enemy brought a deep sense of loss to them. They had roamed Tianyu all their lives and reached the peak of power, so where did this guy come from that could trump them? Not to mention he was young. "Who are you?" Watching the youth sent from the heavens holding the evil dragon claws at bay, Yongning's cheeks flushed. A single question plagued her mind: did the Imperial Mother send you to protect me? Ignoring the shell-shocked princess, the youth's right hand moved and Huangpu Fenglei was forced back with a groan rumbling. The pavement crumbled as Huangpu Fenglei skidded back, leaving deep scars. He only stopped when he was in his original spot, 10 meters away. Raising his head, his face was pale. He had just used Imperial Tyrant body art, a profound ranked martial art, to attack, yet the opponent easily took it and even pushed him back. Just what power did this man have? Who the hell is this guy? Not sparing him another moment, he looked at Li Jingtian and pushed back the black dragon claw of his. Elder Li, you're still not backing down? That woke Li Jingtian right up. What had happened was too shocking and he withdrew his attack only now. Then he showed his respect. Steward Zhuo. What, Zhuo Fan? As if rehearsed, the Crown Prince, Second Prince, and Huangpu Fenglei cried out. They looked at him like a zoo animal. They had all heard of Zhuo Fan's glorious name, but never thought he'd be so much of a freak in person. Was there anyone in the world who could take on two peak radiant stage experts' attacks? Leng Wuchang and Huangpu Tianyuan were dumbfounded. How could that monster grow so much in little under half a year? He was a completely different being from the one they saw in the esoteric debate. Then their faces turned heavy with how true power could topple anything, and the more Zhuo Fan grew stronger, the more futile Leng Wuchang's attempts were to deal with him. To say nothing of what a treacherous knave Zhuo Fan was to begin with. Add to that his power and they felt as powerless as when facing Jiyu Santong. Fang Qiubai and Sima Hui stopped dead in their tracks, watching dumbstruck for 2 seconds before their faces sank. Old Fang, should we bust our heads and keel over? The youth of today seem to have overtaken us. Hard days await us. Sima Hui sighed. Fang Qiubai's face twitched. One thing had to be said though. Following Zhuo Fan's explosion of power, the emperor would have to change his plans for the Luo clan. The two of them were sure they'd be seeing Zhuo Fan far more often in the future. For the imperial family, they were ready to face any danger, endure any psychological torture this youth stronger than them might subject them to, and since the inception of the great divine dragons, this would probably be the hardest thing yet. Zhuo Fan, you came. Luo Yunchang moved with the Luo clan to his side. Watching him come down like a god filled her with joy, then she glanced at the dumbstruck Yongning and asked, Miss, are you alright? Yongning blinked for a long time at Zhuo Fan before she could find her words. Are you that? Zhuo Fan? You're 10 times more handsome than the rumor goes. Zhuo Fan's face twitched, but Luo Yunchang got ahead of him as she said coldly, Miss, please mind yourself. Steward Zhuo isn't someone you can casually address. But the way he casually dropped was unlike any human. Ha ha ha. A laughter came followed by a mountain of flesh running over in excitement. Brother, I missed you so much. With one last step, he jumped on Zhuo Fan. Glancing over, Zhuo Fan only kicked the meatball 2 meters away as it landed with a boom. Face covered in dust. Yuan Song put on the look of a kicked puppy. Brother, what did you do that for? I'd rather not get crushed to death, thank you. Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes. Humph. Who are you trying to play here? You stopped 2 peak radiant stage experts but can't take a bit of my extra weight? Zhuo Fan cocked his head and ignored him, which only worked to enrage him. Yongning looked at them for a second before saying, Third brother, you know him? Third brother? Everyone looked at her stunned. Luo Yunchang gasped, Then you're the princess? Yes. Yongning held her head high and revealed a proud face, but when she glanced at Zhuo Fan and found him not at all interested, her mood sank. Yongning, how did you get out? What are you doing here? Do you realize how dangerous that was? Yuan Bo rushed over and chastised his sister, then bowed to Zhuo Fan. Thank you, young Master Zhuo, for your timely rescue. I am. Zhuo Fan had already left, leaving the Crown Prince in an awkward position. He then noticed that Zhuo Fan was going in the Regent Estate's direction. What is he going to do, fight? Everyone grew excited and nervous. What they saw when he stopped Li Jingtian and Huangpu Fenglei was positively incredible. How would the Regent Estate, the unrivaled head of the 7 houses over the past millennium, cope? The people were eagerly awaiting the good show. This was unprecedented. Anyone messing with the houses got annihilated, but a few years ago, Zhuo Fan began chipping at the 7 houses' power outside of the 7 houses. Tianyu now had an 8th, Luo clan. And their steward, soaring demonic dragon, was someone neither house wished to test, all while he was more than delighted to step on their toes. What was more, the Luo clan was about to be officially acknowledged, setting up Luo clan's roots for all eternity. After a long 1,000 years, the ranks of the houses would finally be redefined. Whoosh! Huangpu Fenglei flashed before Zhuo Fan with a grave face. His eyes staring down on him. You're Zhuo Fan? What are you trying to do? The rest of the Regent Estate was on high alert. Zhuo Fan merely smiled. Oh, nothing. On this auspicious day, the Luo clan is receiving its title, and I hoped everyone would keep to themselves. or a war might break out. War? Humph, Luo clan only has Li Jingtian, what can you possibly do? An upstart clan like you with no legacy dares fight a house? To me, Luo clan has only 2 people. There is no war. What a joke, ha ha ha. Huangpu Fenglei mocked. The rest had to agree the Luo clan's biggest problem was being shorthand. Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian were great experts and strong to boot. But take them out and the rest would be easy pickings. They weren't even useful as cannon fodder. Luo clan's weakness was clear for anyone to see. Second Prince snickered. Ever heard the saying, shorthand? You 2 are great but the rest are junk. Once surrounded, the rest will fall like flies. Zhuo Fan mocked, dumb bigot, you think I don't have a way to fight that legacy of yours? Zhuo Fan pointed at the sky, feast your eyes on the Luo clan's power, a power to crush any house. Pa. With a crisp sound, powerful surges came from the heavens above. Chapter 357, Fiendish Elders. Chapter 357, Fiendish Elders. Elite Coda. Whoosh tilde. 7 figures dropped down like meteors, spreading their savage energy around Zhuo Fan. The overflowing power got even Regent Estate to shirk back. With a startle, they realized that all they could do was endure the pressure. People went pale on the spot. Regent Estate had 30 venerables, so why couldn't they even fight back when they had the numerical advantage? However, upon closer look, they got the shock of their lives, with their hearts threatening to burst out of their chests. Of the 7 newcomers, only one was a peak profound heaven expert, who they didn't recognize. But the other 6 had fiendish reputations. Even as rogue cultivators, no one dared to touch them. Raging Ancestor Qiu Yanghai, Ice Moon Witch Xue Qingjian, what are you 2 doing beside Luo clan? Leng Wuchang's eyes flashed with regret. It was the Regent Estate who wanted them first, and Leng Wuchang found their power impressive. An art to harmonize fire and water was rare. It would have been such a shame burying such an asset. He thought it was better to let them go and think of another way to have them join, since the 2 hardly posed a threat to the Regent Estate. But who'd have thought they'd side with Zhuo Fan instead, becoming their bitter enemies? If he knew, he'd have culled them when he had the chance. But who could have seen this one coming? Not even he, unwonted contriver with his foolproof plans, had thought it possible that what Regent Estate couldn't recruit, it would be done by others. However, it was far too late for regret. Xue Qingjian easily spotted his dilemma. Sir Leng, are you regretting not killing us? Hi, a shame it's all too late now. Steward Zhuo is far stronger in this regard. He truly was vile in his recruiting. I get the chills just thinking about it. Xue Qingjian played coy and put on a knowing look. This got on Leng Wuchang's nerves, a pair of masochists that don't know how to accept a favor. I realize I've been too kind to you. Yes, what you can't obtain, you destroy. The more precious the item, the more this logic stands. Since there is a high chance it might come back to bite you, ha ha ha. Elder Xue is right. This is where you are beneath me. Zhuo Fan cackled, if one day you fall at my hand, you will experience complete failure. That is why as a fellow steward, I can lead the Luo clan to new heights, while you can only assist the Regent Estate by cooking up some elaborate schemes. Humph, this is the difference between rulers and their ministers. And this is what you lack, bringing your downfall. Grinning, Zhuo Fan stared at Leng Wuchang and laughed. Leng Wuchang was about to explode from anger, his eyes bloodshot. For the first time, someone had dared to taunt him. Not even Zhuge Changfeng dared talk to him like that. Zhuo Fan, though, jabbed at his wisdom in his mockery, yet the man couldn't even retort. Who was it that caught him off guard in the esoteric debate and killed everyone? Zhuo Fan said it was a draw at the time, but it was plain as day that Leng Wuchang lost. What could he possibly say to that? Leng Wuchang's anger grew and grew, gasping yet unable to speak. Everyone looked at him stunned. The second greatest mind in Tianyu, Leng Wuchang, was being pushed back in a verbal contest with Zhuo Fan. Huangpu Fenglei's face sank. And seeing the Luo clan's forces, he trembled. But when he caught sight of the 4 pygmies, his eyes grew serious. The abominable 4 scheming demons. Weren't you in the Thunder Swarm Mountain, locked away by the demon scheming sect? What are you doing with the Luo clan? Hi, Foggy, are you talking to us? Violent Demon held his chin up. How could a mere mountain hold the 4 demonic heroes? Here, the mountain can't hold us. That goes double to you. Hi. The other 3 jumped up in glee. Squinting, Huangpu Fenglei said, "Oh? And what if I tell the demon scheming sect? SSS tilde." The four pygmies shivered on the spot, filled with fear. Huangpu Fenglei smiled inside as he mocked, "Humph, you must have escaped your prison, right? If I report you to the demon scheming sect, not just you, but even the Luo clan will. I'd like to see you try." Zhuo Fan cut him off with his derision. "These four twerps are here to help the Luo clan by the order of demon scheming sect leader, Xie Wuyue. Go ahead, report. I won't stop you." Huangpu Fenglei choked on his words. It was because Zhuo Fan's information was too credible. Knowing who demon scheming sect leader was, proved the four scheming demons were sent to help the Luo clan. Did that mean the Luo clan had one of the Empire's three guardian sects, demon scheming sect, on their side? What hope did they have in fighting the Luo clan then? Not a snowball's chance in hell. How could a house fight a sect? Yet he was still unwilling to believe all of Zhuo Fan's words, staring him in the eye for any trace of lies. The four scheming demons looked at him in shock. Wimp Demon couldn't hold his curiosity in check as he whispered, "Steward Zhuo, is it true?" Zhuo Fan nodded. It was all fiction, of course. Xie Wuyue had no idea the four shits were with the Luo clan. But he was sure Xie Wuyue wouldn't object anyway. The demon scheming sect leader was even waiting 3 years before taking him to his sect, yet wouldn't give this little bit of help. The four scheming demons, having got their answer, were ecstatic. They suddenly gathered around and pooled their tiny minds for a little chat. They nodded and a savage glint sparked in their eyes. The four turned into black smoke and charged at Regent Estate. Huangpu Fenglei jerked and shouted, "Look out, these four are hard to deal with." Too little, too late. 4 trails of black smoke shot at Regent Estate's venerables. In a blink, a venerable in the 4th layer of radiant stage was taken to the skies in the sun's glaring rays. The black smoke squeezed in on the venerable. Despite his futile struggles, snaps were clearly heard as the venerable wailed and broke in 4. The blood sprinkled everywhere to the horror of everyone. Since when did a 4th layer radiant stage expert get dismembered so easily? Those things are abominable. Let that be a warning. Their unity tactic is hard to defend against. Don't let them get the drop on you. Huangpu Fenglei shouted, his face grave. He had roamed Qianyu back in the day and knew of the 4 demons' dreadful power. They were few, but vile and insidious like fiends, not to mention stronger than an average radiant stage expert. Qiu Yanghai and Xue Qingjian's fire and water combination art could hold back 10 radiant stage experts. The 4 demons' unity tactic could deal with another 10. And with freaks like Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian in the mix, he reckoned they'd handle 10 as well. Each Luo clan could now deal with 40 radiant stage experts, 10 more than Regent Estate had. This was something no one in the Regent Estate saw coming. In just 10 short years, this clan had reached such an astonishing height. The Crown Prince, Second Prince, and many others were dumbstruck. Who the hell said Luo clan had no legacy? That it was made of only 2 people? In a blink, all their elders were on duty and freaking radiant stage experts at that. What upstart? They were clearly a clan hiding for 1,000 years. Hi, geezer, weren't you about to report us? We're no longer scared of you. If you still have the guts, run away from us 4 demonic heroes and snitch. The black smoke in the air let out violent demons cackle. Huangpu Fenglei felt a headache. He stuck close to Huangpu Qianyuan, as the latter and Lung Wuchang looked on with worry. The 4 demons were notorious. They were madmen, doing whatever whenever, regardless of circumstances and orders. They were a bigger threat than even Zhuo Fan. The Crown Prince ran to Zhuo Fan and cupped his hands. Steward Zhuo, today is Luo clan's award ceremony. You can't shed blood. Please cease hostilities, and call back your elders. A red sky is an auspicious sky. We should make it so in reality as well. We shall turn the ceremony into a sign of prosperity. Zhuo Fan waved him off with his trademark evil grin. Elder Li, who was it that struck first? We did it at the same time. But he taunted me first. Li Jingtian answered. In that case, we can't turn back as cowards. Zhuo Fan laughed. Elders, it's showtime. Zhuo Fan gave the start with his left hand turning into the earth dragon claw while his right shined. Li Jingtian grinned and black energy roamed. Xue Qingjian and Qiu Yanghai held hands as fire and water fused. releasing waves upon waves of power at such a display of power, and glancing at the 4 black spots in the sky, Huangpu Fenglei felt like crying. What is wrong with today? They only wanted to cut some of the Luo clan's momentum and curb the new house's development. So how did it turn the other way around with us getting curbed? Not to mention this had stopped being a mere beating, they already had a casualty. If this went on, Luo clan's fiends would kill them all. They were all hoping their allies would back them up, but Hell Valley, Pilking Hall and Merry Woods, who usually cheered them on every chance they got, now looked anywhere but here. No help was coming from them, that was for sure. The Luo clan and Regent Estates war had had them loose too much already. And now that the Luo clan had come in full force, they'd be dumber than a rock getting caught up in that maelstrom of carnage. Chapter 358 Yield. Chapter 358 Yield. Elite Coda. Glaring at those houses, the Regent Estates people looked around tensely. They were in a real bind here. They had the numbers, true, but the enemy had the quality. Albeit less than 10, but against them, they didn't dare make rash decisions. More importantly, they were being singled out alone, they'd be easy pickings. Not that going as a team would make much of a difference when the enemy used a unity tactic. They were at a severe disadvantage looking at the 4 balls of blackness in the air, then at the grinning Zhuo Fan. Huangpu Qinyuan's heart shivered. The 4 demons moved like ghosts, elusive and deadly. Raging Ancestor and Ice Moon, which united had their power multiplied, with hardly anyone hoping of getting near them. Mad Dipper Li Jingtian needed no introduction from the astonishing display earlier, and was on par with their High Venerable. While the last, Zhuo Fan, was the freakiest of all. He clearly had a power beyond Huangpu Fenglei. In this particular hopeless situation, the best outcome would be with both sides sporting heavy losses and neither getting a clear advantage over the other. Especially when the Regent Estate's 1,000-year-long legacy was on the line here, about to be burned to the ground. He never thought nor hoped to be in such a crisis. That beside the imperial family, Tianyu had another house who could push them back. Huangpu Qinyuan's heart was torn with anxiety. He kept giving Leng Wuchang the eye. He just wasn't about to let Regent Estate fall under his leadership, he just couldn't accept it. The Crown Prince was tense as well. These 2 houses were about to jump at each other's throat, with no one to mediate. Where in the name of all that's holy had those damn divine dragons gone off to? What would become of the imperial family's public view when an all-out skirmish took place in their backyard? Or front yard, to be precise, right under the emperor's nose? Fang Qiubai and Sima Hui were watching from afar. They were in awe of the Luo clan's military might, but stayed put. Waiting for the spark to blow this place sky high. As for the audience, they were smart enough to clear the heck out of there. And only after all safety precautions were taken, and a very solid cover in front, did they begin to enjoy the bustle. In one corner, they had a house with 1,000-years-old history, and in the other was an up-and-coming behemoth. It doesn't get any better than this. As for who would ultimately be crowned head of houses, clans, and the like, they were very much looking forward to seeing it. The common clans weren't the only ones. The other houses looked tensely at the standoff as well, observing as the situation devolved, or evolved. Luo clan's power blew their minds, which had made the future house contest all the more confusing. Who would be the final winner? Earlier, the odds were 70-30, in Regent Estate's favor. But now they looked pretty much even. Luo clan had given them the shock of a lifetime. Leng Wuchang's eyes roamed about and then settled on his target. Steward Zhuo, is it all right to do this? We both know how this is going to end. You're not the one to go to war knowing there's a third party involved and risk losing everything. Perhaps not. Zhuo Fan taunted with his cryptic smile. His eyes flashed. Sir Leng, there's a difference between me, you, and Zhuge Changfeng. I'm not all brain and no brawn. Sometimes I go a little nuts, you see. It's normal. I'm sure you understand this by now, having felt it on your own skin, ha ha ha. Leng Wuchang's face twitched and anger spiked. He understood all right. Zhuo Fan was hinting at the esoteric debate where he went berserk. At the time Zhuo Fan, in his madness, carried out his vendetta regardless of tricks or the bigger picture. He was quite conceited of himself back then, but now it somehow became Zhuo Fan's cover, rendering all his readings of the steward void. With enough brawn, one would lose their head, so much so they didn't care about their own lives. They'd be willing to take the fall as long as they could take down the opponent with them against a man without restraints. The crazier he was, the more horrifying he became. With nothing in this world to chain him down, you'd have no idea what insane idea he'd come up with next, and that was Zhuofan. If his revenge had yet to cool down back in the esoteric debate, he might really engage in this battle, regardless of a third party. Then they'd both lose. To the Luo clan, a new house, that was quite a good ending. While for Regent Estate, having a long history behind them, the resentment couldn't be imagined. Lung Wuchang sighed. Then, what would make you step down? Regent Estate's people were stunned. The great Lung Wuchang was actually negotiating his terms of surrender. This has never happened. Not even Regent Estate's people had experienced a case like this. He'd never submit even in front of the estate lord. With a creepy grin plastered on his face, Zhuofan held his head high and began, "To be perfectly honest, our two houses are now in a standoff because of your taunt. If you want to give up, it couldn't be easier. Apologize. Apologize." Regent Estate shivered to the very core as every one of them glared back. Regent Estate had been the head of all clans for 1,000 years. All its actions were beyond reproach and righteous. Even if they weren't, who would do anything about it? Yet now, they were being asked to apologize. Wasn't that a poorly disguised surrender? How would they get the nerve to get out into the world after this? Not that Zhuofan gave a hoot about how they fumed. As for your sincerity, just wing it. Humph, you take that apology and stick it where the sun doesn't shine. We'd rather choose death before Dishonor. You and me, little demon, we're gonna settle this right here. An aged voice spat as he charged. Going by the readings on his power surge, one would place him in the 6th layer of Radiant stage. Don't take him on by yourself. Lung Wuchang cried, for naught. The man got to Zhuofan, his golden glow revved up, dragon roars in the background and even the space fizzling out as he punched Zhuofan. Any other guy out there would have been a smear on the ground long before he was even hit, but he was dealing with Zhuofan lifting his right arm. The red glow flashed for a second and Zhuofan stopped the attack just like that. That mighty fist softly landed in his palm before he could get another swing in. Xue Qingjian and Qiu Yanghai attacked with their hands united life and death art. Fire and ice combined to release an unspeakable power. It shot a blinding white light, swallowing the man and catapulting him into the sky with a fairly loud bang. The sky itself shook, and the Radiant stage expert was robbed of his last chance at wailing, pulverized. Not a sign of him was left that he ever even existed. One blow. SSS tilde. Gasps resounded everywhere. Everyone knew of the might of this old couple, but their expectations were blown at the display of a unity tactic. Fear was etched on their faces, especially on Huangpu Fenglei. Not even he could take that. Why is the Luo clan a den of monsters? Li Jingtian grinned, taking on a cocky air as he heckled Huangpu Fenglei. Hi venerable, see that? That's why we side with the Luo clan. Huangpu Fenglei was floored. Did the Luo clan have much stronger cultivation methods than the imperial family and Regent Estate? They'd have to re-evaluate their power if it were true. This also snuffed out the last hope of victory. Regent Estate had Huangpu Fenglei paled as he nodded to Huangpu Qianyuan. Yield. Huangpu Qianyuan gasped, his fists clenched, nails digging into his palm. But in the end, he shouted, "Everyone, listen up." With a trembling lip, Huangpu Qianyuan found it unbearably hard to open his mouth and spoke those humiliating words. All he could do was make a deep bow. It was plain to see his meaning, and even the rest felt a little humiliated too. But when they saw their estate lord lower his head, they couldn't say anything and bowed as well. Lung Wuchang felt his heart bleeding, but he was all out of options. This was the only way out. Giving up before the madman found a reason to go crazy was the best outcome. Lung Wuchang bowed as well, speaking for Huangpu Qianyuan. "Steward Xue, it was I who offended you. Please forgive me." Every clan looked at them stunned. The head of houses, Regent Estate, surrendered to a new house. This had never happened in, ever. The Regent Estate was stuck up even before the imperial family, but before Zhuofan, they had completely yielded. The three princes were speechless. Luo clan's fame had reached an all-time high. "So you can learn." Zhuofan nodded, satisfied, "as long as you know your faults and keep them in mind for the future." The 7, no, from today it should be 8. The head of the 8 houses is no longer the Regent Estate, but Luo clan. Zhuo Fan finished with a laugh, a snap of his finger and a spin on his heel before leaving the 4 scheming demons landed, along with the other elders. Everyone walked on victorious towards Luo Yunchang. The people witnessing this miracle felt hope surging in their chests. While the rest of the houses were utterly speechless and stunned to even react, the head of the 7 houses, Regent Estate, had humble pie shoved down their throats before the entire empire. And even had their head title stolen by the new house elder Chu. Is that our ally? A lady among Drifting Flowers Edifice's disciples asked Chu Biju, and grandmother nodded happily. Venerable Bing, it is. Good, Elder Chu, we truly bet on a treasure this time. There's hope for Drifting Flowers Edifices to rise again. Grandmother smiled. Cheers exploded at Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Sword Marquis abode houses as well. While only Pill King Hall and Merry Woods looked positively glum, Regent Estate's decline meant the fall of their backer. As for Hell Valley, they looked on with a cold eye, having already found their path. Chapter 359 Award Ceremony. Chapter 359 Award Ceremony. Elite Coder. Who'd have thought that secretive kid from Luo clan would reveal his entire hand only now? A truly unpredictable man. In the Imperial Palace, Zhuge Changfeng stood on a 100-meter tall gate tower, watching, sighing. Next to him were the yin-yang elders with a frown. The white-haired elder's eyes turned hard. How did he reach such an inconceivable level? It's mind-boggling. It makes me recall that man. You mean? The black-haired elder's eyes flashed and he shuddered at the mere mention. Invincible scamp, Jiyu Santong? The other nodded. Besides that little devil, I've never seen anyone in the profound heaven stage capable of taking a peak radiant stage expert's attack with such ease. It used to be only him, but now. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan is far worse than Jiyu Santong. Zhuge Changfeng smiled. Jiyu Santong is but a humble man. With a bit of trickery he'd fall for anything. With the Imperial Palace trapping him for 300 years, it makes his godlike feat back then look like a lie. He is but a mere child. Zhuge Changfeng's eyes squinted and he turned to the white-haired figure, but Zhuo Fan is a true master of cunning and trickery. To play or con him is harder than taking the throne. Now that he has Jiyu Santong's power as well, no one in Tianyu can deal with him. The yin-yang elders looked at each other puzzled. The white elder paused then. Prime Minister, didn't you say everything was put in place by the Emperor? He wanted to incite the Regent Estate and Luo clan to sink further into killing each other. The two were so close to doing it as well, with Zhuo Fan's high and mighty display, and killing 2 of Regent Estate's venerables. Doesn't that mean he fell for it? As far as my old eyes see, Leng Wuchang just had to endure and the 2 houses would be tearing each other apart by now. Ha ha ha, you guys only see what's in front and not from every angle. Zhuge Changfeng shook his head. The Emperor might have set the stage, but couldn't care less about how this drama played out. Be it Zhuo Fan or Leng Wuchang, both are wise enough to see it. Neither of them wishes to fight and to let the Emperor win, but with this, Zhuo Fan has found Leng Wuchang's limit. Because of what transpired in the esoteric debate, Zhuo Fan's actions had gone beyond human understanding, leaving Leng Wuchang in the dark about his next move. It had robbed him of his initiative in this situation, ending up getting smacked around like a child. Even if Zhuo Fan had been stronger, he'd still not do it. A trained eye would see that the Emperor wanted to use this excuse to force Luo clan to show its hand and thus, was a partial winner. While Luo clan used the stage to push back at the Regent Estate and shake their public image, also winning some. While only Regent Estate, suppressed by a new house, suffered the worst, ha ha ha. The 2 elders shivered, eyes stunned. A mere scuffle between the 2 houses actually had so many implications and consequences. Fighting over interests below the surface, if humble people like them were caught up in it, they reckoned they'd be toyed with and spat out mangled. The complexity of the ploys were mind-boggling. Now they understood why Zhuo Fan was more dreadful than Jiyu Santong. If Jiyu Santong had but half of Zhuo Fan's smarts, no one could have been able to fool him into ending up trapped. Zhuo Fan was a combination of Leng Wuchang and Jiyu Santong in one prime minister. It's best this threat is dealt with fast, before it affects Sir's plan. The Black Elder cupped his hands. While the kid isn't invincible, we too can still handle him. Please let us cull him and spare you the suffering. Zhuge Changfeng waved. Now, he isn't my enemy yet. Quite the helper in fact. Taking him out earlier will only benefit the others. I don't take kindly to letting others enjoy the fruits of my work. The elders were puzzled. Zhuge Changfeng merely shook his head. I have figured out that old bean's mind. 8 houses, 1,000-year-old secret order, they have all been long in play, ha ha ha. Zhuge Changfeng stepped down the tower. Come, the ceremony is about to begin. The elders followed in silence. In another area, Fang Qiubai and Sima Hui saw the 2 houses cease hostilities. But even with Regent Estate losing 2 venerables, the 2 were cursing them for being useless and running scared on their way to the imperial palace. Shuo Fan had rejoined Luo Yunchang with the elders and went to the 9th gate, watching the aloof white-haired figure not once glance over. Yongning glared at him annoyed and pouted. Humph, what's with being all pretentious like? You're nothing but a steward of a no-name clan. Yongning, he isn't your normal steward. In his hands, the Luo clan has become Regent Estate's equal. You know what power the Regent Estate has. Even we have to show respect. Keep in mind the next time you meet people from the Luo clan to show some courtesy. Crown Prince instructed Yongning was having none of that. Second Prince came over and looked at Luo clan as he said, Luo clan isn't to be taken lightly. Their steward is a man to befriend. Second brother, don't forget about our imperial family's rules. Leave me be. Second Prince didn't give a damn about the Crown Prince's warning. Princess, are you all right? A shout revealed the child coming running from among the crowd. The princess smiled while the Crown Prince sighed and facepalmed, almost forgot. Yongning, how did you get out? Ah, snooping. Yongning and the child hanged their heads in shame. Crown Prince turned blue from anger and barked. Yongning, you not only snuck out of the imperial palace by yourself but even dared to snoop to do it. You're only making it worse for yourself. How's it my fault? The entire imperial palace is filled with tunnels with no guards around them. How else did you expect me to get out with my 5th layer of bone-tempering stage cultivation? Yongning grumbled. Crown Prince was royally pissed now. He couldn't vent as Yuan Song came laughing. Ha ha ha, eldest brother, breathe. Sister likes to mess around. The 9th gate will soon open and we'll take her back. What's the point of making the matter worse than it is? Third brother, you're the best. Your head looks like a pig, but your brain is sharper than one. Yongning giggled. Yuan Song turned cold. Eldest brother, I think handing her over to imperial father is best. Ground her for half a year and seal all the tunnels in the imperial palace. See how she'll get out then. No. Third brother, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Don't tell the imperial father. You're the most handsome man ever. Even more than Zhuo Fan. That had all of them laugh and look at her with a shaking head. They were all brothers and sisters and had no reason to hate each other. After 15 minutes, with a sharp creaking sound, all the gates rumbled open to reveal the refined interior of the imperial palace open. The 8 houses each had a gate, while the 3 princes and Yongning took the center one. The other clans walked behind the houses as they entered. But this time Regent Estate had far less people following them, even less than the other houses, while Luo clan, a newcomer, had the longest trail, making it hard to even pass the gate. The previous fight had done wonders for the Luo clan's prestige. They all knew Luo clan was above Regent Estate as the new head of all clans and houses. Only around 10 elders, but each was valiant and hardy like true warriors. This also meant that Luo clan cared about quality not quantity. Following the entrance of the 8 groups into a wide hallway, the 2 sides were lined with guards. From their bearing it was easy to see that they were hardened soldiers, and one could even detect arrays all over the place. Looking ahead, one could guess them to be above 1,000 in number. Zhuo Fan's eyes trembled and he nodded inwardly. Based on every house's legacy, the imperial family's legacy ruled supreme. Once they passed the 8 golden bridges, they arrived an hour later before a lofty palace. There, the second of the 4 pillars, Marshal Dugu Zhantian, was standing guard on the right side of the throne with dragon-slaying crescent blade in hand, while on the left was Prime Minister Zhuge Changfeng. The 2 looked at Luo clan, Zhuo Fan in particular. Dugu Zhantian took a deep breath with a calm gaze as Zhuge Changfeng tended to his beard with a faint smile. With another loud shout, an old man in yellow gown entered their sight. His Majesty has arrived. The 8th Noble House Award ceremony was about to begin. Chapter 360. Best Steward Beneath Heaven. Chapter 360. Best Steward Beneath Heaven. Elite Coder. The man in yellow gown walked slowly towards the throne as the servants on either side followed with deep bows. He looked quite thin, but his bright eyes looked at everyone present, lingering ever so slightly longer on the Luo clan. This man was the current emperor of the Qianyu Empire. May your majesty live a long and prosperous life. The instant he took his seat, the 8 groups bowed. The emperor waved. As everyone knows, I have called you all here today to bear witness and rejoice, by the grace of Qianyu's ancestors, to the rise of a new house in our empire. Qianyu has survived the past 1,000 years in no small part due to our 7 houses' assistance, bringing stability and prosperity, safeguarding peace along the ages. In all these years, the imperial family dared not neglect its duty, looking for talents to defend the well-being of its people. That is the purpose of the esoteric debate, to see a clan rise up and make Qianyu great. I am sad to say that this has never happened. We are fortunate that the heavens finally took pity on us and my rule, and presented us with a new house, working alongside the 7 houses in strengthening our foundation. This is a blessing to myself, to the nation, and to everyone else. Congratulations, Your Majesty. The land shall grow even stronger. Everyone bowed. Luo clan did the same, with humility. We dare not accept Your Majesty's praise. Everyone present knew this was just a high-class act, and thus was shortly ignored. Even those who had never seen this new house knew that the 7 houses never stopped fighting among each other since the empire's foundation. What working together? More like stabbing each other's backs. With the coming of the 8th house, the fights would only grow bitter. A prime example was the 2 houses duking it out at the ruler's gates. While the emperor was saying all that, the empire was in fact on the verge of collapse, hanging by a thread. He didn't believe what he himself said, and neither did those people who were bowing. It was all make-believe. Despite all of this, neither side was about to unravel the white lie. These were appearances and decorum that had to be maintained. Or poking holes in the paper-thin charade would lead to Qianyu going up in flames, something no one wanted. The emperor looked at them one more time and smiled. Praise heavens. The imperial palace guards came forward and prepared the incense. The emperor bowed before it and even began reading a prayer. It was more or less being thankful to the heavens for the prosperity of Qianyu. While every paper was perused, an hour passed by and the rest rose up along with the emperor. He took his rightful place on the throne with traces of sweat on his brow, a clear indication that he was reaching the limit of his life. He knew that, yet he would still put on a cheerful face. Good. After we showed our respects to heaven and earth, we then have the Son of Heaven, which is myself. Luo clan's head, Luo Yunhai, step forward. Yes, Your Majesty. Luo Yunhai stepped down on one knee. Young Luo Yunhai, your father has been taken from you at an early age, yet with your bravery and resolve, you have led the clan forward alone. You have followed Marshal Dugu in battle and showed marvelous skill in the esoteric debate. You are a true model of Qianyu's heroes. I bestow upon the Luo clan the title of the 8th noble house. Windgaze City shall be your domain along with the 100 cities around it. You shall be known as Regent of Prosperity, allowed to own a prince's manor in the imperial capital. Raising his head, Luo Yunhai was bug-eyed and so were the rest, looking at the emperor in disbelief. None of them expected for Luo Yunhai to actually become a nobleman and even have a title. Among the 7 houses, only Regent Estate had the Marquis title because they were related to the imperial family, but Luo clan was a run-down third-rate clan. And it had just jumped in front of everyone with the title of prince. Only Zhuge Changfeng, Zhuo Fan, and Leng Wuchang understood. The emperor wanted to place the Regent Estate and Luo clan on opposite fronts since the world couldn't hold both of them, so too the 8 houses could only have one boss. 2 kings was 1 king too many. The emperor's title came with vile intentions. Not that Zhuo Fan gave a hoot, since his sole plan for Regent Estate was to drag it out. And Regent Estate wasn't about to sway under the emperor's taunt. So when the tripartite division took shape, all those titles became empty words. On the contrary, the 100 cities offered made Zhuo Fan pleased as a punch. What was of greatest importance in the cultivation world? Resources. 100 cities included the mountain range close by and the tens of spirit mines and endless herbs it offered. And all of that was the house's private property. Adding to that a part of the empire as well, Luo clan would soar with so many resources. It would no longer need its allies' support. It had finally gained independence. This was why many clans wanted to curry favor with the houses. Without resources, they'd wither and die, and these resources were either the empire's or the house's monopoly on the resources controlled Tianyu's clan's development. With Luo clan having 100 cities to its name, if the clans wanted to join it, they'd have to move to the border. Zhuo Fan finally showed a twisted smile. 2 servants came before Luo Yunhai, offering him a golden cape, embroidered with a majestic dragon. It only missed the 4 claws, or it'd be just like the prince's. This was a symbol that showed the house was equal to the imperial family, not to mention Luo Yunhai was a regent. Thank you, Your Majesty. Luo Yunhai bowed. The emperor nodded and turned to his sister, young Miss Luo, come forward. Luo Yunchang was stunned. A male would take on the mantle of clan head along with titles, so where was he going by calling her? Luo Yunchang still kneeled. May Your Majesty live a long and prosperous life. Luo Yunchang, dignified and virtuous, strong and loyal. After the misfortune that befell your clan, you held strong against all adversity, raising your little brother and guiding the clan. You are a model of virtue to all of Tianyu. I take you as my goddaughter, naming you Princess Yong'an, and expect you to become a good sister with my daughter Yongning in safeguarding Tianyu. Luo Yunchang turned to Yongning hiding behind the princes, who stared blankly back at her. Neither expected that from the emperor. They were to be sisters. Your Majesty, I would never. This is an imperial decree. The emperor cut her off with a stern face. Luo Yunchang sighed. Then, I shall accept. The emperor beamed and Luo Yunchang withdrew. Luo clan's steward, Zhuo Fan, stepped forth. When everyone thought the award ceremony was over, the emperor called one more time. Zhuo Fan was puzzled. He was just a steward, not the Luo clan head. Why's he giving me something? But since the emperor decreed, he could only oblige and gave a half bow. May you dare not bow before his majesty? A sharp cry pierced the ears of everyone. Zhuo Fan looked on with a frown at the servant next to the emperor and his face grew cold. You're the one with the nerve calling it to attention when the emperor said nothing, trying to kiss someone's ass. Do you think of yourself better than the emperor? No, his majesty. The servant panicked. They had always been next to the emperor and basked in second-hand glory, getting used to pushing others around. They were proxies dishing out the emperor's orders, but as long as the emperor didn't say anything, anything went. Perhaps they were even doing what his majesty intended, while other scared people never dared to refute in fear of the emperor's anger. But Zhuo Fan was a tough nut to crack. Would the grand demonic emperor from the sacred domain kneel before a no-name emperor from the mortal domain? The servant was way out of his league messing with him, especially when he knew the emperor needed him and wouldn't sweat this particular detail. The emperor waved and smiled at Zhuo Fan. Then, Zhuo Fan, why do you not kneel? My knees are wounded. With your majesty's brilliant and wise character, I'm sure you won't pressure the future house's steward. Zhuo Fan's words were a work of art. Throwing the emperor's words right back at him, in layman's terms, you just called us irreplaceable, in order to strengthen the nation's foundation. So why the hell would you nitpick? Only a poor ruler would do that. Won't that shame you? Won't you lose Tianyu's respect? Those words even contained a hint of threat. Luo Yunchang lowered her head, filled with worry and anger at Zhuo Fan's crass act. Before the mighty emperor, you kneel when spoken to. What the hell are you doing looking for an early death? Offending the imperial family will give us a death sentence. She was unaware that this was a fine balance not even the emperor wished to break. Since he didn't want to let Regent Estate come out on top. Hence Zhuo Fan's leverage was very much real. Giving him a long look, the emperor smiled. You truly are a worthy steward for the Luo clan, Zhuo Fan. Your reputation precedes you. Then, Zhuo Fan will receive your title. The emperor coughed and shouted, Steward Zhuo Fan of the Luo clan, you are a man of bravery and wisdom, holding your clan together through hard times, loyal and caring, a pillar of the empire. I bestow upon you the title Best Steward under Heavens, wielding the power of the 3 armies and the bearer of my authority. SSS tilde. The people gasped in shock. Even Zhuo Fan. Chapter 361 Emperor's Invite. Chapter 361 Emperor's Invite. Elite Coda. What did the best steward under heavens mean? His orders were second to the emperor in court, and he was the supreme commander of the 3 armies. He was literally beneath the emperor and above the world. He was the epitome of power, a prime minister and marshal in one, albeit with the emperor standing above him. Still, with how the imperial reign was built on this authority alone, It was no different than capitulating the very ground that was holding his throne. Dugu Zhantian's eyes twitched, looking at the emperor with a dumb look. Zhuge Changfeng was doing the same, albeit with a casual glance. The geezer's plan is obvious. He wants to give Zhuge Fan a power even above that of the Four Pillars. As a prime minister, he had figured out the old schema on the spot. The emperor wanted to balance the factions. His reign had been steady all these years because of Dugu Zhantian and me. But won't this trouble addict, who goes on withdrawal if he doesn't cause a mess once every 3 days, have all this power go to his head and blow everything sky high? Or maybe. Zhuge Changfeng squinted, scoffing inside, the old coot can't take it anymore. He wants to speed up the chaos by getting the monkey added incentive to do just that, and flip the board while he is at it. While Leng Wuchang tensed, his heart was resentful. He had already guessed what the emperor was up to, but that didn't mean he liked it. He was regent estate steward, the one famed across the whole empire as unwonted contriver, yet for a neophyte to suddenly call himself best steward under heavens didn't sit quite right with him. To say the least, those Zhuge Fan's deceit and shrewdness had him pensive. By right, that title should be his. Sunk into depression, Leng Wuchang took a deep breath, twice, to regain his cool. He looked at Zhuge Fan with jealousy and greed. Present the violet mantle. The emperor had spoken. A servant responded on point, presenting a plate with a purple cape and golden thread. The cape was unraveled, presenting a golden dragon with its 4 claws in the corners, while also a hint of a possible 5th claw. On a visibly empty pattern, the imperial family's robe was characterized by dragon claws. It was a symbol of their rank, authority, and power. 4 made one a prince, while 5 lifted him to be the son of heaven, an emperor. This cape was proof that Zhuge Fan was just shy of having the entire empire at his feet. Such controversy would never have stood, since it held a strong feeling of outrage and rebellion against the current court, yet the emperor himself bestowed Zhuge Fan with this contradiction. It went on to show that along with the best steward under heavens, Zhuge Fan was truly beneath the emperor, in both name and power. Not even the 7 houses, princes, or even crown prince could compare. Crown prince trembled and finally fell to one knee. Imperial father, this is most unbecoming. Please reconsider. The rest followed his example, shouting in unison, please reconsider, your majesty. I order you to stand down. The emperor's piercing cold tone sent shivers down their backs. They could not defy him. The emperor was the son of heaven, his word was solid gold. No man could sway his mind. They were all awakened to this simple yet painful truth, knowing any persuasion would fall on deaf ears. Without further ado, Zhuge Fan was entitled as the first steward beneath heaven. His glorious radiance stabbing the eyes of all below, while also pricking no few hearts with discontent. Now that Zhuge Fan had both power and right, any defiance would be ill-advised, in a manner of speaking. He could stick the imperial family's army on anyone's ass at the drop of a hat. Pil King Hall and Merry Woods exchanged a pained glance. They never gave Zhuge Fan and Luo clan a second thought up till now, yet against fierce adversity they had become a behemoth. If only they'd known, they'd have it snuffed in its cradle. Regent Estate took this news quite well, too well, in fact. That was because they knew something everyone else didn't. Zhuge Fan's title was totally void of authority. The emperor didn't stop at Zhuge Fan's cape, showering the other high-value members of the Luo clan with a title each, albeit far lesser than the first 3. It was also that the people would recognize who the Luo clan was, to open their beady eyes in the face of greatness and not step on their toes. Even still, there was one teeny-tiny matter that had everyone's dumbstruck faces on full display. While Pil King Hall and Drifting Flowers edifices were slack-jawed, Luo clan's second elder, Pil House elder, was vicious Pil King Yang Song. Even the emperor was taken aback. Didn't Zhuge Fan waste him? What's he doing as Luo clan's elder? The emperor gave Zhuge Fan a deep look. Steward Zhuge, you fooled the entire world for 8 years with your devious schemes. Just how many secrets are you hiding? Ha ha ha, please don't kid your majesty. With your majesty's astute mind, how could I possibly hide anything? Zhuge Fan bowed. The emperor shook his head. He wouldn't be the emperor if he believed every outright lie. This kid's tricks are so twisted even I am getting a headache. With inconceivable matters cropping up one after another, fear crept within the emperor's heart. Without even realizing it, this pawn he nurtured for so long had outgrown his control. I hope this game will still play out. The emperor sighed inwardly. After 4 to 6 hours of dishing awards and titles, the ceremony came to a close. The emperor had the clans leave the imperial palace, but not without a bow from them and a deep respect towards the Luo clan. This new house was budding, yet it was very much capable. It had both experts and alchemists, at the top of their fields. Even their steward had surpassed the wisest steward of all, unwonted contriver, and became known as the best steward beneath heavens. A team such as this, excelling in power and management, was bound to hit it big. There were quite a number of clans entertaining the thought of bending a knee for the Luo clan after the ceremony that went double after seeing their ranks. Of the Luo clan's elders, Lei Yuntian was the weakest, yet a grand elder. Second elder Yang Song was even in front of those radiant stage experts. These two were a complete discrepancy for the powerhouses around them. That lineup was like a flare to the people. This told everyone that the Luo clan was an honorable clan. First come, first served. Then again, one would always pick a true helper in favor of a poser. This had the clans competing to get into the Luo clan's graces rather than see it played out first. Luo clan had it made, no doubt about it. Luo clan was also the only one who made such strong elders work, all made possible by the grace and power of their steward, Zhuofan. Was there anyone among the elders who dared show discontent for their positions? To another clan, such a huge discrepancy in power would have ended up in infightings. Didn't might always make right? Yet in the Luo clan, that right was worth shit. Any and all that dared preach such an outdated philosophy were served a huge piece of humble pie on a silver platter. Zhuofan, walk with me. Zhuofan was leaving with the Luo clan when an aged voice called him. He turned to meet the emperor's steel gaze with a deep breath and a nod, as if expecting it. He went with the old man. The two arrived at a pavilion in the imperial gardens. The emperor took a seat on a stone chair and invited him to do the same. This is where I and Mr. Sima play chess. Here, we're simple people, without rank. Please, make yourself at home. With a raised eyebrow, Zhuofan plopped his butt on the chair, then took a casual bite out of a fruit he picked from the platter. He really was at home. The servant at the side almost blew a gasket. That was His Majesty's courtesy, not for you to take it literally. Not even Mr. Sima, being friends with His Majesty for ages, would be so crass. Not that the emperor cared, smiling as a grandpa did for his dotted grandson Zhuofan. I've heard so much about you, but this is our first meeting. The emperor smiled. Zhuofan just nodded. The emperor laughed. I first heard of you from my third son. He said that Luo clan has a clever steward helping them and that I needn't worry. Thus I supported this new clan. As for your ability, I never gave it a second thought. How strong can a third-rate broken-up clan's clever steward become? I mean, the scope was just so limited, it was impossible for it to grow. Wouldn't you agree? The emperor chatted as he looked at Zhuofan with a smile. Zhuofan gave a curt nod again. Sure enough, before meeting face to face, all information was about the clan itself. How one's view changed depended on one's position. Since no clan had ever come out of a border town like Windgaze City, what scope, what ambition could this one have? Even he would jump to the same conclusion given the chance. He'd have the same disinterest in Luo clan and himself upon hearing of them. It was this lack of vigilance that made people like him be the ones in control. Or if Hell Valley or any other house focused on his clan, death was certain. Unable to grow into what it was today, there was no one to blame here. Hell Valley was not some fool to let the Luo clan slip through its fingers. It was Zhuofan's uncanny mind to come up with some of the most insane and mystifying plans. Chapter 362, Paving the Way. Chapter 362, Paving the Way. Elite Coder. However, killing Yugichi in Blue Expanse City gave me quite a shock. With a deep breath, the emperor looked to the heavens, a faint smile traced across his face. The only thing on my mind in those days was how could the third mind of Tianyu, Hell Valley's schemer, die at the hands of a nobody. It was then that I began to take notice of you. I reckon I was among the minority who held you in such high regard. Zhuofan secretly sighed. He planned to keep his head low back then, to build up his strength and avoid unwelcome scrutiny. But then Ninga showed up and the circumstances forced him to go all out. Then Hell Valley followed up with their kill order, harassing him on every step. Come to think of it, he wasn't all that level-headed as he believed, but a mindless savage charging through. But I liked the charge, so staunch, so invigorating. In reply to his thoughts, The emperor patted his shoulder. You don't have to feel sorry, I understand. A patient man like you would never face such strong enemies so early. But as gold can't dull its radiance, or how a diamond can't hide among the sand, you too will meet with these events, whether you like it or not. Only, your radiance is perhaps a bit too gaudy. Even I was almost blinded, ha ha ha. The emperor continued, after my poor heart calmed down at last, months later, you pulled another one. You wrecked Drifting Flowers City and killed 3 house elders. That scared me. I wanted to build the Luo clan up to strike a balance, but you, the chick I had been raising, almost bit a wolf to death. You were close to ruining everything. I was wondering if renouncing your clan would be the better part of valor. Many apologies, Your Majesty. I was too reckless and almost wasted Your Majesty's hard work. I am ashamed of myself. Zhuo Fan bowed slightly and cupped his hands, yet his mind was thinking the opposite. His words feel sincere, but lack any truth. He goes on and on about balance and stuff, but from today's attitude, he wants anything but. All he wants is chaos. Actions speak louder than any sweet words. Zhuo Fan had drilled this lesson into Lei Yuting for years, being a devoted follower of this saying himself. Hence, in reply to the emperor's convoluted speech, his mind was that of a mirror, not so easily pulled under. The emperor's eyes shined with wisdom. Then he laughed, ha ha ha, it's fine. It's all in the past anyway. It was only then that I realized my son was right. You truly are a man of many talents. How else could you have incited so much chaos? And so, I came to a bold and radical decision. Do you know why I sent Marshal Dugu to Windgaze City for rescue? I am moved to tears by Your Majesty's extreme favor for my Luo clan. Zhuo Fan's bow was on point, shaking his head. The emperor gave a vague smile. No, it wasn't for the Luo clan, but for you. I am shocked and dare not accept such praise. Ha ha ha, is there anything you won't dare to do? I wholly appreciate your strength. The next set of events only proved that my decision to send 1,000,000 soldiers in defense of one man was the right approach. You haven't let me down. He held Zhuo Fan's shoulder, showering him in praise. Zhuo Fan lowered his head. The emperor squinted, watching, scrutinizing, and only now he came back to the main topic. Zhuo Fan, I have called you here to come to an understanding between us. Command me, Your Majesty. Zhuo Fan's bow came again. What do you think of becoming the Prime Minister? Shuddering, Zhuo Fan was stunned inside, but he put on a quizzical face. Your Majesty, the Empire already has Prime Minister Zhuge. Why? Ha ha ha, of the Empire's 3 great minds, Yugichi only knew how to manipulate and scheme, a disgrace. Leng Wuchang has the talent, but a petty character that lacks any drive. Prime Minister Zhuge is the best candidate, holding his office for decades, his conduct exemplary. Only, he is just like me, old. Once I'm gone, am I to just leave an old man behind as support, to drag his feet in the nation? It is not something I want to see, and I'm sure my successor would be in agreement as well. Quirking an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan got the gist. The emperor wanted to pave the way for his son, the new emperor. As with any new emperor who took over the throne, their position will be shaky. With a wily old fox like Zhuge Changfeng around, with a cunning mind and wielder of power, the emperor's 3 sons would fall like flies. It would be an age of a weak ruler with strong followers. How could the Yuan clan ever hold on to Tianyu? Ha ha ha, it'll change hands of course. This was where Zhuo Fan came in. He had no basis in the court, so even if a new emperor cropped up, the case would be that of a strong ruler and a weak follower, him ending up as the new emperor's pawn. On the other hand, Zhuo Fan was more than capable of filling the job of handling national affairs. Getting a third-rate clan to become a house in a mere decade tended to give one just enough credibility, so when the emperor came up with this proposition, he took everything into account. Staring straight at him, the emperor spoke. Zhuo Fan, I've seen the path you've taken to reach here. You are no weaker than Zhuge Changfeng, perhaps even better. At your age, he was but an ignorant bookworm. I believe you will surpass him in the future and become an even better leader of the 4 pillars. You becoming a prime minister will benefit the whole nation. I have made you the best steward beneath heavens, also you could guide Tianyu's future for me. The emperor's eyes were honest. Zhuo Fan's eyes shook. He couldn't see through him, but one thing he did know. The emperor definitely had something else stored in his mind, and it was time to lay it out in the open. But your majesty, as you know, I have a dragon soul. Being in court, won't I and the imperial family collide? Zhuo Fan was quite tactful, yet it held the same meaning as Huangpu Qingtian back then. Providence made me king, yet you're not scared I'd take it all away? Ha ha ha. The emperor was calm. Dragon vein soul is a creature of the world. My family had it quelled for generations to safeguard Tianyu's prosperous future. By itself, it means nothing. Why else would we place Regent Estate as a guardian of caged dragon city yet be fearless of them taking the dragon souls for themselves and stealing our rule? Remind me again, who was it that killed Huangpu Qingtian, the one calling himself heaven's gift upon this world, he who had a dragon soul as well? Ha ha ha, destiny has always been in our own two hands. If posterity works hard and loves their nation, Tianyu will thrive, its people will be happy. But if an unruly successor is brash and decadent, how can Tianyu survive? Destiny, heaven, all are empty words. If I advocate such superstition, I wouldn't have needed to work myself to the bone over its future, now would I? Zhuo Fan nodded. This emperor's words make damn perfect sense. Even he believed it. As what was cooking in the old head of this emperor, not even he knew in the end, Zhuo Fan cupped his hands. Your Majesty, give me some time to consider. Sure, take all the time you need. Though I do hope you will serve your country and live up to the title I've bestowed upon you. The emperor gave a genial smile. Even Zhuo Fan was slightly touched. If everything the emperor said today were lies, then he was no emperor but an evil spawn. Zhuo Fan took his leave with a bow. The emperor watched him go with a peculiar smile. Whoosh. Two old men appeared on his sides, Fang Qiubai and Sima Hui. After a customary bow, Sima Hui began, Your Majesty, the princess has returned safely. Yongning only knows how to make me worry. If not for Zhuo Fan, God knows what would have happened to her. Sighing, he brightened. He sure was fond of this willful daughter of his. Fang Qiubai sighed. I had never dreamt Zhuo Fan would reach such power in just a few days. I fear he has already surpassed us. What a little monster. Humph, why stop there? He is clearly like the peak radiant stage Zhuge Changfeng, versed in pen and the sword. The emperor squinted, then was taken by a coughing fit. Cough tilde, bring me a quill and paper. Yes. The servant complied. At once the emperor wrote just a few big words on the paper, his sons' names. His eyes grew heavy looking at them, but they steeled in the end. Tell me everything that's happened, including the three's reactions. Yes. Fang Qiubai presented the whole affair at the 9 gates with intricate detail. The emperor grumbled to himself, then picked up a red quill and hovered over the crown prince's name. One must be collected, to have a way with words, to adhere to the ancestors' teachings. These are the qualities of a ruler, he said as he circled the name 3 times, yet sighed in the end. But why do I feel you're being so stubborn? You will tire the people, sigh. The emperor then crossed him out once and went to his second son's name to circle it twice. You are bold and benevolent, firm and ambitious, yet rude, rash and greedy. One day you will end up being used, humph. The emperor crossed him 3 times, his beard trembling in anger. He is not fit for power. Finally coming on to the 3rd name, he hesitated, yet only drew a question mark. Your Majesty. What? Fang Qiubai was stunned. The emperor spoke. I know you side with him, but my 3 sons need to be observed for longer. Especially the 3rd. I fail to comprehend him. Lest the road I've paved with so much sweat and blood will lead to the nation's collapse in the hands of a decadent successor, and I will never know rest. Sighing, the emperor grew sad. He hoped, no, wished there was one among his sons just half as shrewd as Zhuo Fan. He would then pass on his title in peace. Chapter 363, Big Cheese. Chapter 363, Big Cheese. Elite Coder. Captain Pang, I am from the Jiao clan of Westfall City. I've heard so much about the great Luo clan and wish to give my respects to the young regent. Please pass this message along. A youth in lavish clothes stood before a lofty gate as he made a deep bow to Pang Yi. He had just finished when a kick smacked his ass way out of bounds. A wretched man spat in contempt. Humph, another third-rate clan comes out of the woodworks to latch onto the Luo clan? Not on my watch. The man switched to an amiable face on the spot as he presented a vial to Pang Yi. Hehe, I hail from the Bai clan of Cold Edge City. I only wish to have the fortune of serving the Luo clan. Please send my kind regards. This is a 5th grade pill, Heaven Pill. It will assist you in entering the profound heaven stage. I'm sure you must find my meager goodwill laughable. Pa. Not before getting cut off with a resounding slap to the face, which sent him spinning 3 meters into the air with a swelling face in his place, was an upright and icy old man, Humph, by clan? Just some thieves under Hell Valley now wanting to get into the Regent of Prosperity's good graces. That's the same as letting a spy in. My humble self comes from Seashore City's Wang clan. I will never allow such a disgrace to foul my eyes. The old man walked forth aloof and self-important, flicking his sleeve, and bearing only respect. I pledge my life to safeguard the Luo clan. I will make sure no bastard sets foot in. The old guy's act was cut short with a groan. He looked behind him to see a rough palm slam his chest. Captain Pang eyed him coldly, his smile wicked. Did I let you in? He put more force into his hand and threw the old guy a dozen meters. The old man crawled to his feet and started cursing. How can you resort to violence so easily? Attacking when you feel like it. I even helped you get rid of a spy. You mean that guy? Captain Pang mocked. What spy is he when we haven't even taken him in yet? The old guy was about to yap on, but the flood of people came from behind in waves. The crafty ones even kicked him for good measure, to lessen the competition. Damn geezer, don't take the high road with me for your own social climbing. Your Wang clan must really want to get in the Luo clan's graces to have come so early. Yeah, so stop blocking the way. We, the Fang clan, pledge ourselves as Luo clan's errand boys. We call dibs. Oh, Captain Pang, here is my clan's legacy, a 4th grade spiritual weapon. Please pass this message to the regent. Pay, you call that a gift? The Luo clan, head of the 8 noble houses, uses them for toothpicks. Captain Pang, I present to you a genuine and uncontested 6th grade heavenly treasure. I hope you could put in a few words for us to the young regent. In front of the huge building, people were coming from all around in droves, turning the entrance into a flea market. The plaque above the gate had Regent of Prosperity's compound written on it in bright gold. It was the place that the emperor bestowed upon Luo Yunhai in the imperial capital. By the way, it was also his current address, with the Luo clan receiving the greatest honor in the ceremony. Not that the power it displayed while sitting on the head of the 7 houses had anything to with it. They were, by right, uplifted to the rank of the head of the 8 houses. Hence, your run-of-the-mill Arivist clans rushed in like moths to the flame for a chance to serve under the new young regent, wanting their fame and power to rub off on them too, to bask in second-hand authority, to ride their coattails and to push other people around for a change. But with how a literal flood was at their gates and Zhuo Fan had yet to return, Luo Yunchang dropped the headache on Captain Pang to stem the waterworks. Yet these guys didn't know when to quit, sticking around despite any harsh rebuttal, as if the only way forward was to be on the Luo clan's side. Captain Pang was laughing it up inside. He'd be touched if it happened when the Luo clan was in dire straits. But now, Humph, they're nothing more than selfish pricks. This is. A bewildered voice announced Zhuo Fan's coming, guided here by an imperial servant. But the horde of people had him blank out for a second there. He got the drift the next second though. Sigh, the world is full of hypocrites. It's the best steward beneath heavens, Steward Zhuo. Someone noticed Zhuo Fan and shrieked like a fangirl, setting him in the sights of the mob. Steward Zhuo, take us in. My clan is eternally loyal to yours. Steward Zhuo, forget about him. Take me. My clan is first-rate, an asset in battle. We'll charge the enemy alongside and will fulfill your orders to the letter. On and on it went as the human sea outdid itself in being first. They almost had Zhuo Fan swallowed in the maelstrom. Their fanatic and crazed looks were burning his skin, face twitching. Zhuo Fan's choice was for his right eye to flash golden and puff out of existence. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage, Shif. Whoosh tilde. And wink back into existence next to Captain Pang. Stop them, Zhuo Fan said as he went inside. Captain Pang grinned, not to worry. Not a single one will pass me. The crazed fanbase saw their quarry gone from their sight and were bug-eyed. That steward was power. That's so awesome. Some girls swooned. Too cool. Zhuo Fan, I want your babies. That gave the start to the second wave upon the Regent compound's gates. But Old Faithful Captain Pang barred their way as well. The wraith art had toughened him up more than enough to make sure not a single rat snuck in, leaving the crazed mob behind. Zhuofan walked towards the gate, while still hearing their frantic calls. Luo clan was now the big cheese in town. From big to small, from court to independent officials, everyone looked at it with reverence. It had been his goal all along, and yet he couldn't stem the worry gnawing his mind. He knew the old adage well, after woe came weal, yet the opposite applied just the same. They were in vogue across the entire nation, close to being a national role model. But this fame could very well turn bleak very fast. I bet that old emperor can't wait for us to fall. Zhuofan bore a cold smile. Too bad that the Luo clan has me as their steward. It will never conform to your wishes. You're not the only player on the national chessboard. I am as well. He stuck out his chest and strutted into the lounge. Besides the Luo siblings, there were some old friends waiting. His 3 allies. Zhuofan, you're back at last. We've been waiting for ages. Luo Yunchang went ahead to welcome him with a sweet smile. Zhuofan smiled back and greeted everyone with cupped hands. Forgive my late arrival. That old coot just kept running his mouth, forcing me to make you all wait. Ha ha ha. Long Yifi and the others were about to give a courteous reply, but the words got stuck in their throat. Across the whole of Tianyu, the only guy who had the balls to call the emperor an old coot would probably be him alone. His outstanding peers, Long Xingyun and Xie Tianshang, were there as well, but were sharp enough to keep quiet. They were still vexed whether Zhuofan was still their peer. Sure, the age fits, but what about their levels? He's so awesome, going about doing this and that, not putting anyone in his eyes. So why is it that we have to be cautious all the time, stuck behind him? Guess the fact that his current achievement was all done with his own 2 hands had something to do with it. While they had their house behind them, he had to carry himself. Yet had still achieved the impossible. Such a gap couldn't be bridged, the thought had these young heroes fall into depression. God, all these comparisons are mortifying. Luo Yunchang looked off too, pinching him with all she had. Can't you be more considerate? Do you want to die defaming the emperor all the time? Don't tell me you're afraid of Pavilion Lord Long and the rest ratting on us. Zhuofan giggled at them. The old guys shook their heads at once. How could we? Brother Zhuo, please don't joke. Zhuofan eyed them. I am not one to pay attention to my tone, you know? But that doesn't make me a fool. At least I know how to choose my words. I only said that about the emperor, knowing fully well that you won't snitch. Like I said once, you've helped me over the last decade and the Luo clan will become your strongest backer. The 10 years have yet to pass, but Luo clan has already become the only house capable of standing against the regent estate. If Luo clan falls, what about all of you? We are now roped together in this. There's no way for you to sell me out, so I trust you the most, am I right? Zhuofan laughed, slowly devolving into a cackle. All while the oldies bobbed their heads, they felt quite awkward before this new house. Now that Luo clan was far above them, with a whole future ahead of it, they felt insecure, thinking they'd be thrown away like dead weights. This guy has done in 10 years what we couldn't in 1,000. Is there anything he can't do? All the more reason that these veterans, instead of having the same guts they showed before Regent Estate, made double sure to weigh every word and gesture before letting it out. That went double for Zhuofan. It dawned on them that Zhuofan's ever self-important reaction, his kingly air, was on a whole another level than even Huangpu Tianyuan or Leng Wuchang. Reading them like a book, Zhuofan smiled. No need to be so tense, we're all old friends, having gone through thick and thin. Luo clan will never forget that. Unlike Regent Estate, you can feel safe with us. We won't turn on you once we reach the top. Oh, how come I don't see Edifice Lord Chu? To ease the tense mood, Zhuofan switched topics, yet this question had grandmother and the rest sputtering, trying to find the right answer. Chapter 364, Sea Phantom Wing. Chapter 364, Sea Phantom Wing. Elite Coder. Did something happen? Zhuofan's heart tightened. Grandmother shook her hands with a dry laugh. Ha ha ha, Steward Zhuo, she's fine. She's just in seclusion. Seclusion. The esoteric debate has ended and the strife of the 8 houses has begun. What's she, the House Lord, doing goddamn secluding herself? His stare bore into grandmother's group, noticing their reactions were off. He knew something was up, but his questioning was cut off by the sudden booming voice of old Pang. Their Highnesses, the Crown Prince and Third Prince, have arrived. Startled, Long Yifi and the rest looked on curiously. The crown prince always abides by his ancestors' teachings and hardly ever visits the noble houses. Why is this time different, openly disobeying the tradition and coming to the 8th house? Grandmother gave Zhuofan a hard look and drew a conclusion: either he must feel his position threatened and was forced to intervene, or the Luo clan must be so radiant that even the Grand Crown Prince has to bask in its glory. Scratching his nose, Zhuofan's eyes flashed. I've seen him once and he left me with an impression. He sticks to ethics, treating everyone fair, but he does it all with a clear purpose in mind. He is subtle and sharp, and won't get himself dragged into the house's strife. He's more of an old fox watching the fire burn from the sidelines. Yet he took the initiative of coming here by himself, to get close to us. He has a clear objective in mind. As to what, we'll just have to wait and see. His allies nodded. Zhuofan was cunning to the bone and calm even in this situation, earning their admiration. Steward Zhuo, His Highness Crown Prince has come to pay the Luo house a social visit, but he is sure to want to discuss something secret as well. It's best if we take our leave first. Xie Xiaofeng said. Zhuofan nodded, having Yang Fu lead them to another room. Abode Lord Xie, you're so thoughtful. They left not a moment too soon, as in the next moment, someone with a bright and crisp laughter entered. Ha ha ha, Imperial brother, Imperial sister, your prosperity compound is so lively. That crowd you have outside almost had even me blocked. 2 golden men walked in with their attendants behind them. Crown Prince and Yuan Tsong. Zhuofan snickered inside at the sight of the first. He's good. The Emperor just made Luo House's siblings a regent and princess, and grabbing the excuse, he came out of the woodworks in an instant, thus making the two feel awkward about shooing him away. Though they had no reservations about the second guy, Zhuofan turned to the ball of fat with a shake of his head, thinking back. Didn't the fatty drag him as well? These two are indeed related. Humph. Please forgive my transgression of not coming out to welcome you, Your Highness. Luo Yunchang pulled her brother to bow before Yuan Bo. All while Zhuofan was standing behind them, looking bored and with nothing particularly important to do. Crown Prince ignored this obvious rudeness and instead helped the two up with a smile. Please, we're all family now. You don't have to be so distant. Just call me elder brother. Luo Yunchang was startled. The siblings found him kind, amiable and modest. They were overwhelmed with gratitude. However, Zhuofan's trained eye saw through the facade. He hadn't lived 2 lives for nothing. Oh, Steward Zhuo, you sir have become the best steward beneath heavens as of today. You are in charge of all of Tianyu's affairs. Beneath one man and above everyone else. Congratulations on having received such boundless glory. I know it is late, but please accept my acclaim. The Crown Prince went to Zhuofan and made a solemn and perfect bow, a 90 degrees down angle. If he were any more modest, he'd be on his knees by now. Everyone was shocked at his modesty. That person bowing there was His Highness Crown Prince. The only ones to receive such respect were either the Emperor or the 4 pillars. The 7 house lords were clearly exempt, yet here he was giving Zhuofan the greatest respect the imperial family could offer. Everyone looking at them felt touched by the gesture, all but Zhuofan, who wasn't buying any of that fake modesty, watched on with a cold eye and a curt nod. Oh, I know. Next time be quicker about it. Blood almost spurted in waves as the people keeled over and laughed. It got a crack out of the bowing Crown Prince too. His face twitched and became red as a fireball. Yuan Tsong had the least control and cursed. Brother, how can you step all over him? Elder brother offers you his sincere congratulations and this is how you thank him? To be quicker about it. As if we're truly in the wrong here. He said he came late and asked for forgiveness. What, didn't I forgive him and now I can't even chew him out for it? What more do you want? Zhuofan rolled his eyes. Blood was bound to flow if he kept this up. The fatty was so pissed that his lard and everything quaked. You're nitpicking. Can't we ever get a simple polite greeting out of you? Don't think that I won't. Won't what? Beat me up? Bring it. Zhuofan snickered, flipping the fatty off in taunt. The fatty had smoke coming out of his ears. Oh, he wanted to put the prick in his place, but he was smart enough to know when he was outmatched, outclassed, though not outweighed. And so, while he looked positively charging, he had one greasy hand, by chance or not, holding Crown Prince's hand in such a way as if the other guy was pulling him, and then shouted, "Elder brother, don't stop me. I will put this punk in his place for what he did to you." The Crown Prince's mouth twitched. I see why the old third has become sworn brothers with Zhuofan. Look at them. One has a flair for the dramatic, cocky and obnoxious, sticking his nose higher than the heavens even in front of me, the Crown Prince. The other is no better either. He's got no power yet still wants to play pretend, pulling me into his act while he's at it. These two are like two peas in a pod. A bromance made in heaven. Contrary to his thoughts, he knew Zhuofan had the power to match the attitude. His only choice was to make friends with the guy. Thus he laughed, "Ha ha ha, Steward Zhuo is so fresh and reasonable. I truly admire you. Old third, that was my sincere apology and what Steward Zhuo said was right. You can't interfere. Humph, consider yourself lucky that the elder brother has let you off. Next time, humph." The fatty flicked his sleeve, speaking that line like second nature, all while being close to having a panic attack inside. "Oh, mommy, I'm free at last. If I had fought with that freak, my modest 400 kilograms fat would have been tenderize." Zhuofan merely scoffed. They all returned to the lounge and Saturday. The Crown Prince clapped for his men to present his gift. Dozens of 8th grade ingredients and some 6-7th grade materials. These materials far outstripped even the diamond San Zhuofan once called a genuine treasure. Among them, sea phantom wings stood out, the wings of a 7th level spiritual beast, abyss phantom butterfly. The abyss phantom butterfly was exceedingly rare, haunting the black depths of the largest seas. It was ethereal, expert in using illusions and swift in water. Not even a peak radiant stage expert could escape this creature's illusions, offering instead his soul for it to feast on, and these wings retained that special trait. These were far better than his former lightning wings, both in strength and attack. The higher in stage a cultivator progressed, the more he trained his soul, hence soul attacks were more sought after. The sea phantom wings were a nightmare for any radiant stage expert, or even higher. Eyes fixed on the Crown Prince's gift, Zhuofan sighed. The imperial family must have a sizable treasury amassed over 1,000 years for a mere Crown Prince to present such an invaluable gift. The Crown Prince noticed his look and nodded with a smile. "Steward Zhuo, I know you had lightning wings, but had come to lose them in the esoteric debate. Please kindly accept this gift I've prepared for you. Every reward is deserved. What does the Crown Prince wish for me to do in exchange?" Zhuofan smiled. He was never a believer of free lunches. Shaking his head, Crown Prince showed a vague smile. "Steward Zhuo is a national hero, and the Luo clan is a national asset. I only wish for the two of us to work together for the safety of our empire. That is my humble request." "Humph, more like having us as your lackeys. Cut the slick act." Zhuofan scoffed inside. The fatty urged, having long since exhausted what little patience he had, "Just accept the elder brother's goodwill. What's there to consider? Won't it help you strive harder for Tianyu? This is a natural responsibility of the Luo clan, now a crucial part of our nation." Glancing at him, Zhuofan snickered, but nodded. He pegged the fatty as being on the Crown Prince's side for coming here together, but hearing him now changed his opinion. The Crown Prince wanted Luo clan to work with him, for him. As for national safety and such gimmick, that came second. But the fatty's dumb act, played out in ignorance, changed its content, making Luo clan working for Tianyu and thus accepting the gift fully deserving the way it went. What looked like fatty helping Crown Prince was in fact helping Luo clan escape Crown Prince's clutches. Striving for Tianyu and siding with the Crown Prince weren't semantics, thus the Crown Prince's gift became a waste. The fatty was hiding himself. He is quite the shrewd guy. I wonder if the Crown Prince can read between the lines. Oh, he would be royally pissed if he could. Chapter 365, Parish. Chapter 365, Parish. Elite Coda. After a bit more chatting, the Crown Prince stood up and bowed before leaving. Zhuofan actually enjoyed sending him off for a change. Beaming from ear to ear, he was brimming with smugness, thinking that Crown Prince had yet to find out that the fatty sold him out. Be that as it may, Zhuofan thought that taking such a grand gift for nothing was a tad bit awkward, not like it was his fault. It was that tub of lard to blame for ruining his elder brother's masterful scheme. While Zhuofan was off the hook. As for serving Tianyu, it was not a problem. Who's to say whom the future Tianyu belongs to? Snickering inside, Zhuofan watched the prince's leave, then came back inside more refreshed than ever. As for those two brothers, they didn't get more than a stick's toss away when Crown Prince cupped his hands. Third brother, thank you for coming with me. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to make friends with the prideful steward Shua even if I came as the Crown Prince. Don't be like that, elder brother. We are close, you and I. Of course I'll help you out. The fatty slapped his flabby chest, shouting his bromance, yet in the next second, his beady eyes turned shifty. Elder brother, weren't you always against us getting close to the houses? Then why? Crown Prince sighed. You must think that I am going against the Imperial Father's decree by doing this, correct? Only, sigh, the Imperial Father has been going down on his years and his handling of court falls shorter from one year to the next. With the Luo clan and regent estate being like fire and water, it will be dangerously easy for Tianyu to fall into chaos and wreck the Imperial Father's poor heart from anxiety. As his son, I must set things right. That is why I wanted to get close to the rising Luo clan so that I may mediate in the most dire moments and bring balance to Tianyu. Oh, elder brother is so considerate towards the people and father. I am in awe. Yuan Song cupped his hands, putting on a face of adoration. Elder brother, just say the word and I will fulfill any request you may have to my full capabilities. This is the only thing I can do to share the load you and father carry. Nodding, the Crown Prince patted his shoulder. Third brother, I thank you for your good intentions. If only our second brother had a fraction of your kindness, I believe we brothers could do it. If we work as one, nothing is impossible. A shame. Elder brother, lighten up. Second brother will one day understand your toil. The fatty gripped Crown Prince's hand, watching him with a heavy gaze. Crown Prince had a thin smile. I can only hope. Third brother, I still have documents to handle for father in the Imperial Palace. I'll be going. Crown Prince glanced at the sky and cupped his hands. The fatty replied in kind, thank you for your hard work, elder brother. Goodbye. Then he took his men and went in another direction, watching the ball of flesh wiggle away in the sun's glorious rays. The Crown Prince had a smile on his face. But once the pile of meat took a turn, his face sank, his eyes exploding with revulsion and hatred unlike any before. That damn lard ass talks too much. He took out a spotless hanky and wiped his hand the fatty had grabbed, then threw it away. Then he left with his own detail, towards the gloom of a dark alley where three people waited. Greetings, Prime Minister Zhuge. Crown Prince bowed. They were Prime Minister Zhuge Changfeng and his two elders. Zhuge Changfeng smiled. Your Highness, by your confident gaze, I believe the plan was a success. Of sorts, however Zhuge Fan is a highfalutin, leaving me with anger but nowhere to vent. Crown Prince grimaced. Zhuge Changfeng laughed. Your Highness, please bear it. Zhuge Fan is a prideful youngster who has yet to experience true failure. Even Lung Wuchang suffered at his hands. His pride is warranted. This is just how people with talent are. But will this cocky man one day take your position and become Prime Minister? Crown Prince frowned in disbelief. Zhuge Changfeng nodded. You heard it yourself, how the Emperor bestowed him the best steward beneath heaven's title. And what does that mean? Becoming Prime Minister. His Majesty is paving the way, a capable official for the new Emperor. Zhuge Fan may be unorthodox and crass in his methods, unlike me, but we are the same in one aspect. We are more than qualified to be the Prime Minister. I understand, Prime Minister Zhuge. Crown Prince nodded, but a dark cloud still loomed over his face. But I just can't stand Zhuge Fan's attitude. Just thinking how I'll tangle with him day after day once I'm crowned, is infuriating. Zhuge Changfeng had a look of ridicule for him. Your Highness need not worry about this for now. Perhaps, you won't even get the chance. Crown Prince shook like a quiver as he cried, what are you implying? Nothing. Just a guess about His Majesty's thoughts, ha ha ha. Zhuge Changfeng's eyes flashed. Every ruler plays favorites, leaving to his successor the people he wants. This goes double for the officials. Some will be demoted, others promoted, all to win the people's hearts. Yet this time, His Majesty has decided to forego this and settle on the next Prime Minister candidate. Now why do you think he did that? Crown Prince shook his head bewildered. Zhuge Changfeng resumed with a hidden gaze of contempt. If the officials are chosen before the ruler, this can only mean one thing. His Majesty is yet to decide who among you three is to be the successor. Put another way, anyone would do with Zhuge Fan at his side. Your Highness, don't put too much stock in your crown prince status, when it gives no advantage whatsoever in the power struggle. Ha ha ha. How can this be? Crown Prince shuddered 2 steps back. Now do you see why I suggested getting close to Zhuofan? The official decides the emperor. Since any one of you 3 will do, it will all come down to who fits this stuck-up future Grand Chancellor best. This shall decide who among you is destined to be emperor. Zhuge Changfeng sneered at the stumped Crown Prince. In case your Highness and Zhuofan can't exactly rub shoulders, you might as well give up on the throne. Being a regent isn't all that bad either. No. Crown Prince shouted his defiance. Prime Minister Zhuge, thank you for telling me. Now I know what I must do. He took his men and left in a haze. The sweat had seeped into his back and the golden tunic stuck to him. Zhuge Changfeng was mighty pleased watching the staggering figure leave. The black-haired elder spoke. Sir, are you really helping him take the throne? Helping? Humph, I'm not so bored as to get his dowry for him. Zhuge Changfeng snickered. I'm only praising the Luo clan so much because of this tripartite stalemate plan. Have the tigers tear each other apart while he reaps the benefits. But does he think I'll just stand by and let him do that? I will entangle the imperial family into this mess and jumble the board so much he won't be able to tell left from right. Ha ha ha, since he wants chaos, I'll give him a helping hand and raise hell. We'll just have to wait and see who will be the true reaper in the end. The 2 elders praised. The Prime Minister is brilliant. Meanwhile, Zhuofan went back to the lounge, dodging past Long Yifi and company. Long Yifi sighed at the gone princes. Crown Prince, a man of such impeccable conduct, is looking for a faction as well. The imperial capital isn't as calm as the surface. The others nodded. These guys all had decades behind them and could sniff out any undercurrent. Zhuofan agreed as well, but wasn't worried. With the Luo clan growing day by day and on the initiative, who could rein them in when they were in constant transformation? Steward Zhuo, someone has come with an invitation. Captain Pang ran over. Zhuofan glanced at it and at the sight of the second prince's name, he laughed. I just sent away the crown prince, and the second one comes right after. The second prince is filled with wild ambitions, always discussing with the houses in secret. But everyone looked down on him, until recently, when he got tangled with Hell Valley. To vie for the throne, I presume. Grandmother urged, Steward Zhuo, you'd best avoid getting into the imperial family's affairs, lest you incite trouble. Humph, I fear no trouble. But what does this second prince think he is, that he can just ask me to visit him? Even the crown prince paid yours truly a visit. Zhuofan ripped the invitation in disdain. The others flushed with shame. Steward Zhuo has nerves of steel. Coming to such a decision with such a reasoning. While they were weighing the pros and cons, and how to ease up on refusing the guy, Zhuofan, on his high horse as he always was, never failed to look the part of the egotistical bosso. Checking the second invitation, Zhuofan read, Parish. The third pillar, demigod Yun Xuanji. Narrowing his eyes, Zhuofan pondered. Now that he thought about it, he had yet to pay this 1,000-year-old mystifying clan a visit. And here it was knocking on his door. Chapter 366, Yun Xuanji. Chapter 366, Yun Xuanji. Elite Coder. Yun clan, the most secretive clan since the founding of Tianyu. It was not like the 7 noble houses, guarding the borders, but a clan every emperor had relied heavily on. This clan had mastered an amazing and strange skill. In every generation, there would be one person who knew how to read the heavens, a sacred bloodline that could infer the fate of the nation. This bloodline didn't offer them power, but allowed them to look into a person's fate, and the empire's path, with ultimate precision. Their eyes saw the world, so to speak. They gleaned fate through signs unperceived by others and presented the emperor with the most accurate conclusion. This person was called High Priest in every generation, a title the emperor bestowed. Rumor had it that in the Tianyu Empire's most dire need, the High Priest was the one to recommend Dugu Zhantian for marshal and Zhuge Changfeng for minister to the emperor. This led to the powerful 4 pillars of today, bringing prosperity to the nation. The current High Priest was the 7th clan head of the Yun clan, the one they called demigod Yun Xuanji. Zhuofan mulled it over. They say Yun Xuanji doesn't care about mundane affairs, so how come he knows about me? Steward Zhuo, he is an incredible man. Since he has invited you, he must want to convey something of dire importance. You have to go. Grandmother spoke after seeing the invitation. Raising an eyebrow, Zhuofan eyed her, then the rest. You guys are quite respectful of Yun Xuanji. Is he that trustworthy? Absolutely. Yun Xuanji is an anomaly in Tianyu. Be it the emperor, Zhuge Changfeng, Dugu Zhantian, or the seven houses, everyone would knock on his door whenever they faced something beyond their understanding. And he answers each time. I once visited Sir myself and his words brought light to my eyes. Long Yifi smiled, recalling the fond memory. It only worked to get Zhuofan more curious. How is it that the emperor leaves this threat, a mystic whose words shape the nation and even lead the houses, alive? Zhuofan was clear on one thing. Chaos bred heroes while peace killed mystics. The world was perfect, peaceful and safe. But your sudden scrying and spouting of the world falling into chaos, with anyone vying for the throne, will shake the empire to its core, no? This led to those mystics raving about some monarch founding a nation to be the first put down after the nation was up and running, to prevent calamity. No one wanted for others to use their words and steal their throne. One other reason why Zhuofan had such disdain for anything related to heaven, providence and the like. Huangpu Qingtian wouldn't shut up about it. He laughed in his face, of course, labeling him as another duped moron in his mind. But now, the Yun clan had not only developed this art to perfection, it even had authority. Men, friends and enemies alike, paid social visits for answers to their problems. It was a clear violation to the imperial family, yet the emperor never once snuffed it out but kept it close for 1,000 years. This was more than baffling, insane. Even the house lords burst out laughing at his conundrum. Ha ha ha, Steward Shuo, what you don't know is that the Yun clan has never shied away from the straight and narrow. It treats everyone as guests, yet never holds favorites. It never involves itself in court affairs, taking neutral ground and never crossing the line, the only reason the imperial family's fears were abated. Unlike any other mystic, Yun clan has an ancestral teaching. The walks of life are numerous, heaven ever-changing and humanity's wisdom boundless. Xie Xiaofeng grinned. Zhuofan pondered, but shook his head in the end. Isn't that the same as saying, at the end of it all you have only yourself to rely on? That's just it. His words guide you on your path. As for succeeding, it all comes down to you. This is what makes the Yun clan incredible. Long Yifi laughed. Zhuofan's eye twitched. Well, I think he is a hustler. To juggle so many big shots sure takes skill. I'm looking forward to meeting him. Who knows, I may learn a thing or two on how to use you guys better. Even better. If you can learn anything, we'll be coming to you for guidance. Ha ha ha. Everyone burst out laughing. Zhuofan's hand holding the card shook, but his eyes were focused. He called Yun clan a mystic, but he was more than clear that for the emperor and Zhuge Changfeng to show utmost respect towards it, it had to be more than that. I have to visit them. He cupped his hands and took his leave, heading for Parish. It took 15 minutes to arrive before a huge gate. Parish was written above it, but unlike its glorious name as a third pillar, it looked downright poor. The Yun clan is truly honest despite the 1,000-year-long fame. Nodding, Zhuofan knocked. The heavy gate creaked open and a 9-year-old kid walked out. Giving Zhuofan a once-over, he bowed in respect. May I know who Sir is and your purpose? A merchant. I heard of the high priest's scrying and wished to consult him. Zhuofan found discretion was the better part of valor, so he chose to probe the unknown kid. The kid frowned and counted on his fingers before bowing in apology. Forgive me, but clan head is tending to an important guest these 3 days and can't receive you. You may come afterward. Let me make you a reservation. Zhuofan regarded the kid deeply and nodded inside. Yun clan sure is fair. So lofty yet hearing the people's needs. Even their kid is polite. At the very least, it knows how to raise their clansmen. If it were the Luo clan's guards meeting some nobody wishing to see the great steward Shuo, he'd have been slapped silly rather than waste words. Yun clan advocated virtue, a stark contrast from your common mystic. Ha ha ha, child, I won't tease you anymore. I have received an invitation. Here. Pinching the cutie's cheeks, Zhuofan laughed. The kid lit up and bowed. Oh, best steward beneath heavens, forgive me for not recognizing you, Sir Zhuo. Clan head has long been expecting you. The kid led the way, with Zhuofan smiling behind. They passed many water pavilions and stopped before a large structure. Looking up, Zhuofan found it to be 100 meters tall. At the least here is the parish observatory. Clan head is currently tending to a guest. Please wait here while I inform him. The child bowed again. Zhuofan nodded and the child left. 15 minutes later, Zhuofan's eyes roamed all over the place, bored out of his mind, when he heard angry and rough shouts. Why are they so familiar? Going around the observatory and onward, he arrived at a house. The child from before was now kneeling in front with a lowered head. Did he wait here not wanting to disturb the clan head? Sir Zhuo. The child noticed him and cried out. Zhuofan only gestured for him to be silent. Then, to the child's shock, he tiptoed over and peeked through the seams of the door. He was dying to know who Yun Xuanji was seeing. He got the shock of his life. There were 3 people inside. One was a sitting grizzled old man with closed eyes and impeccable conduct. He was assumed to be High Priest Yun Xuanji. As for the other 2, Zhuofan was more than familiar with them. Huangpu Qianyuan and Leng Wuchang. Huangpu Qianyuan was the one raving. High Priest, your scrying has never failed, so why is it this time that it is completely different? Indeed. I can infer human minds, but not heaven's will. Something I admire the High Priest for. Leng Wuchang cupped his hands, but this time, I am unable to readily accept the High Priest's error. 20 years ago you told us that the eldest young master is fit to rule, that it was a wonderful omen. But now? Yun Xuanji nodded and sighed. Indeed, your eldest young master had the rare earth dragon disposition. He needed to pass 3 tribulations and his future would have been limitless. What tribulations? Huangpu Qianyuan spat. Yun Xuanji not once opened his eyes. These 3 were a part of heaven's plan I dare not divulge. But since he had come to pass, it no longer applies. They are heaven's will, father and son, and sin. Which of them was Zhuofan? Leng Wuchang asked. Yun Xuanji shook his head. Neither. Then why say there were 3? Aren't they clearly 4? It was even one that took his life. Huangpu Qianyuan boomed. Yun Xuanji was a bastion of tranquility in the face of a storm. Heaven is ever changing, though some movements can be tracked. With a human having 3,000 paths to choose from, his life can take a myriad of turns. But your dear son's tragic loss is a true accident. Zhuofan was holding his mouth for his dear life. He was more and more sure this Yun Xuanji guy was a hustler through and through. Who the hell would say an expert like Huangpu Qingtian's death was an oopsie? Huangpu Qianyuan and Leng Wuchang twitched. It was a first time hearing such a word from Yun Xuanji. He used to drone on about fate working in mysterious ways, some kind of elegant and convoluted explanation that had them all bow in admiration of the infallible truth it held. But this time, he offered no such thing, writing it all off as an accident. Is he trying to give Parish a bad name? Chapter 367, You Should Be Dead. Chapter 367, You Should Be Dead. Elite Coder. Face twitching, Huangpu Qianyuan clenched his fists and felt a sudden, totally understandable, urge to deck the old man. High Priest, haven't you always preached that no life is by accident? That heaven has decreed everything? Even if a mistake happens, it is only a fork in the road that is fate. Aren't you the one mistaken then? Why is it that when it comes to Qingtian's turn, it's an accident? One's path is impermanent, heaven ever shifting, and of the world's myriad creatures, no one can escape their destiny. With how the world has 8 gates, opening, torpor, life, harm, impediment, spectacle, shock, death, to enter the gate of life is to be alive, to enter the gate of death is to die, to enter the gate of torpor is to lag in lethargy and be in a slur, to enter the gate of spectacle is to have a bright future. But in any case, it always revolves around taking one of the 8 gates, never outside them. Thus one can't escape their destiny. Yun Xuanji took a deep breath. After speaking of how mysteries had intricacies and intricacies had mysteries, he sighed. However, as there are myriads of living beings, an anomaly is bound to appear. There comes a time when a singular man stands outside heaven's control. Huangpu Qianyuan's eyes twitched, clueless where he was going with this rant. Leng Wuchang, however, did get it. You mean to say, Zhuofan isn't part of heaven's schedule? Huangpu Qianyuan snapped his stunned eyes on Leng Wuchang. What does that mean? Yun Xuanji never elaborated, resuming after a long pregnant pause. We shall stop here. I have spoken too much already. You are now on your own. Show yourselves out. This coot's kicking his guests out. Huangpu Qianyuan choked, and a blazing fire scorched his heart. He really wanted to thrash this geezer. Not making a word of sense, and now he was giving them the boot. The two's minds went out of commission for a second. Their Lung Wuchang was the first to act though, stopping his lord's assault on the defenseless old man and bowing, "Thank you, High Priest, for your counsel. I understand fully and we shall now take our leave. We shall come again another time." "Hey, Sir Lung, understand what? I didn't get anything out of that rant." Huangpu Tianyuan roared. Lung Wuchang waved, "Estate Lord, let's go. The High Priest has already given us clear advice. Zhuo Fan is an anomaly, neither friend nor foe. He has nothing to do with us." "You're calling all that nothing? He has killed so many of our people. And you want to just forget about revenge?" Huangpu Tianyuan watched Lung Wuchang in shock. Why is Sir Lung speaking in riddles like this coot? Lung Wuchang merely pulled him outside. "Estate Lord, I will explain everything when we get back." Rumble. Lung Wuchang opened the door only to bump into the peeping Tom. He cried, "Zhuo Fan, what are you doing here? A total coincidence. Ha ha ha, just like you came to ask how to deal with me, I've also come to High Priest for pointers on what's the best way to get rid of you guys." Zhuo Fan taunted with a snicker, "Though, isn't it funny how we both visit the same person for our problems? Humph, ignorant whelp, Parish has stood tall for 1,000 years, above mundane affairs. And they won't start doing it now for a measly conflict. They are merely here to point out our path and clarify our purpose." Lung Wuchang put on a cold smile. "Besides, now that I fully understand our circumstances, Luo clan may be evolving day by day, but it will be at the heart of chaos. Attack us and both our houses will fall, leaving others to reap the benefits. Intellectuals like you and me aren't dumb enough to choose this path." Zhuo Fan gave him a deep look and nodded, "Right on. But understand this, who was it that kept backing off in front of the imperial palace?" Shuddering, Lung Wuchang clenched his fists. It was the greatest humiliation of his life to be pushed around by Zhuo Fan. "Ha ha ha, Sir Lung, you know you can't beat me, yet you are also scared to face me." "It must be," Zhuo Fan snickered, his finger pointing at his heart, "here is where you fall short. You don't have my drive, just a mere counselor unable to achieve anything noteworthy. Ha ha ha." The mockery was jarring to Lung Wuchang's ears. His eyes bloodshot, his fingers digging into his palms, unable to hold himself back from trembling. It was a naked taunt and scorn, but all he could do was bear with it. They couldn't face Zhuo Fan as he was now, he was too strong. Besides the fact that he was now one of the big players in the grand scheme of things. They were not about to throw caution into the wind over this little hiccup. The kneeling child was stumped, living his whole life in the parish. All he had ever met were respectful and courteous people, even if hypocritical in other words. This child had only seen the light of the world, and never its black and foul darkness. Today was the day when he got exposed to humanity's most morbid side. Zhuo Fan hardly needed lengthy speeches to poke at Lung Wuchang. Those few words contained more than enough unbridled malice that he would appear to be like a hellhound out for blood. And each word shocked the poor child's naive heart more than the last. He was afraid. So this is the corruptive darkness that courses through outsiders' veins. Yun Xuanji sighed with his eyes closed. Lung Wuchang took long breaths to calm down somewhat. He refrained from talking back and instead pulled an enraged Huangpu Tianyuan. "Estate Lord, let's go." Zhuo Fan watched them leave with a grin, then turned to the dumbstruck kid, patting his shoulder with a snicker. "Sonny, see that? Look how those guys left bleak and despondent before yours truly. Am I cool or what?" The child was too shocked to speak. "Steward Zhuo, please refrain from corrupting my disciple." High Priest finally opened his deep eyes with a casual shrug. Zhuo Fan grinned, pinching the kid's cheek again before going in. After that peeping fiasco, he was rid of all respect he ever had for High Priest, thinking, just a hustler. And since he was a mere peak profound heaven expert, he had lost all interest too. Sprawling in his seat and drumming the table, Zhuo Fan said, "So, why did the High Priest call me over?" Looking at him for a long 15 minutes, Yun Xuanji nodded. "As I suspected, Steward Zhuo is a man among men." "Stuff it. If I'd been any more normal, I'd be dead. Now why did you invite me?" Zhuo Fan slapped the table with a scoff. He shot to his feet, heading for the door. "If you're all out of shticks to convince me, then CYA. And don't try that fate stuff with me. It won't work, nor can I understand it. Do us both a favor and save it." Zhuo Fan left with a sneer. Yun Xuanji only spoke as he was about to take the first step outside. You should be dead. Rumble. Zhuo Fan froze with his leg in the air. His eyes filled with shock. Yun Xuanji cut into him quickly. He did die once already. Be it Luo clan's servant, Zhuo Fan, or Sacred Domain's demonic emperor, Zhuo Yifan, they had both died. Zhuo Fan was the demonic emperor's resentment, borrowing this servant's body to be reborn. He still had the case of identity disorder. Was he Zhuo Yifan or Zhuo Fan? Through the use of 9 Serenity's secret records, out of 2 deaths, a life was born. This was his greatest secret, so how did the old coot figure him out in a glance? Creaking his head back, Zhuo Fan frowned. He now noticed the abyss in the old man's eyes hiding a faint flicker of light, like the night's furthest star. Are the rumors true? Yun clan's clan heads have eyes that can pierce one's fate. This is out of this world. Not even Sacred Domain's emperors can train in such a mystical art. More importantly, is this world dominated by fate? Zhuo Fan was a stubborn skeptic when it came to anything remotely sounding of fate, but now, he was forced to give it a second thought. Swallowing dryly, Zhuo Fan looked heavily at him. Just who are you? Where does the Yun clan come from? He refused to believe that the mortal domain housed such an unimaginable clan. He's a branch of the Shun clan. He has to be. Yun Xuanji had a puzzled look. Steward Zhuo, what are you saying? Yun clan has always lived in seclusion, being weak at fighting. At the founding of Tianyu we were asked to come out of obscurity and have been treated as its parish ever since. To answer your question of where we come from, I can only reply with Tianyu. Zhuo Fan was thrown in a loop now. Can a clan of such incredible skill have such bland origins? Or have they lived for so long that they forgot about their own history? Zhuo Fan had a faint smile on and shamelessly plopped back in his seat. High Priest, please don't mind my previous outburst. So, where were we? It's been ages since I had such a refreshing chat with someone. Ha ha ha. Yun Xuanji's face twitched and he laughed to himself. Steward Zhuo, your reputation precedes you. Flexible, knowing no shame, and quite like myself back in the day. High Priest, are you patronizing me, or mocking yourself? Zhuo Fan felt awkward. High Priest shook his head. We've all been young once. But now, at my age, this seat is different from how I saw it then. So I wish to have a talk with Steward Zhuo, giving our all for a better tomorrow. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.